chocolate starfish.
You say that so good, dude. I want to hear you sing more Limp Bizkit songs now. I feel like they do.
Keep on rolling, baby.
Like a chainsaw. I'll skin your ass raw. That's the actual lyrics.
That's
My day keeps going this way. I just might quit my career.
I don't like Fred Durst.
Right. Yeah. Our buddy Kyle has been we've brought up before when he's like, I hate them, I hope they die. And then we brought up, of course, what if they did die?
Right.
Would you feel, and he's like, I would feel amazing. Like, I didn't know I had this power.
I didn't know I was,
he does that for a lot of
Death
people.
Note.
He hated fucking, what's his name?
Gwen Stefani, he hates.
Tim
Tebow.
Tim Tebow Jenkins. He hates all Tebows, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the I hate Tebow, all Tebows. They can all kiss my ass.
All the
Tebow train. You can just
Tebow
take him or leave him. Actually, you should leave him.
I'll jump on that Tebow.
Dump on that Tebow.
Hands underneath, legs in the air. Just
take a grumpy in Tebow's mouth.
Full throttle. Rip a grumpy.
One grumpy. One unit of what qualifies as a grumpy.
I'm gonna rip a grumpy in the tool shed.
One cubic grump
is in Tebow's mouth.
One metric grump.
Actually, there was the best visual over with Corey. Our friend Corey did this kind of dance or interpretive showing of how he imagines farts. And it was so the grumpies in your butt are holding on, going. And then the fart, because it stinks, is passing through, going. Excuse me. Trying to get through.
This doesn't make for good radio because they can't see your visuals.
I know. I'm not good for radio. Okay. Why did we start a podcast?
Hello, and welcome all to MultiTap Theatre. The following is an entertainment show with special focus on the modern and retro gaming eras. Explicit language and content is utilized for emphasis and flourish, so please monitor children's listening. Yes, listener discretion is most gravely advised. The hosts welcome all audiences and encourage audience participation in most forms. Any visual or oral resemblance to any person living, famous, or deceased is strictly intentional. And now, for your listening pleasure, MultiTap Theatre. Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to MultiTap Podcast Episode 1. I'm your host, Justin. This is
Chris.
Aaron.
Irene.
To introduce ourselves, we're going to do a favorite. And it'll be a general favorite. I'm going to go this way. What's your favorite?
Okay. I'll do favorite console, and that'll be Super Nintendo.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah. Me too.
But I'm not going to do console.
Okay.
Aaron, my favorite enemy is skeletons.
You're going to introduce yourself every time?
I don't know.
Aaron?
I choked.
Yeah, Aaron, I went this is episode 102.
I'm still Aaron.
We know who you are.
Hi. I want you to know who's talking.
Your favorite enemy was skeletons?
I love skeletons.
Skeletons in general.
Is there a story behind that?
I've always liked skeletons. If a skeleton's moving, it shouldn't be. That's
right.
Cool.
I thought your favorite enemy was going to be Bubble Man.
Bubble Man is a very specific enemy, and I love that guy.
I actually knew your favorite enemy would be skeletons.
But if I have an overarching enemy, it's not going to be a Bubble Man. There's not going to be an army of Bubble Man. You're not going to go out into the tall grass and encounter two Bubble Men. But skeletons.
You encountered a wild Bubble Man.
The skeleton of a Bubble Man, you better watch out.
Right.
That's circuitry.
That's favorite square.
He's a robot.
Because it would be wires, and that'd be weird that they were animated.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's weird the bones are animated, though.
No, but the bones have structure.
Wires are just frayed.
It would just be a glob of
some kind of
tentacle. That weird Pastafarian monster, except for it's not flying.
Incredibly scary.
It does.
That weird, blobby, wiry goop of Bubble Man's remains.
Right.
secondary.
That's my favorite enemy.
So now knowing that you're horrified, what's your favorite?
My favorite enemy is Bubble Man's wiry corpse.
Wire remains. That's a great name for a
man.
death metal band.
Wire
Bubble
remains.
Man's wiry corpse.
There you go.
Love that guy though.
I'm Justin.
What's your favorite, Justin?
My favorite music game is Final Fantasy Theatrhythm.
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 How do you all say that?
I say feet rhythm, but my husband says theater rhythm,
Theater rhythm.
which makes more sense, but it doesn't look like theater rhythm. It looks like feet rhythm.
It looks like Theatrhythm.
If
is
you were
how
going
I'd
to say it phonetically, or like just reading it, it is theatrhythm. But
Well, yeah,
I think they
so it's-
intended for it to be theatrhythm.
So
They should have
also
put
is it
the E
we
in there,
have, we have a
then,
handy
if they wanted
poster
it
over
theater
there
rhythm.
that looks like
Is what I feel like.
Theatrhythm. Because I read the word rhythm and whatever's before it, so it could be
I think you're
rhythm.
doing like the British thing, the theatre rhythm, like how they say theater.
Is it? Is it the same way as I do Xenogears?
The rhythm of the
Everybody,
theater.
how's everybody say Xenogears?
I say Xenogears.
Xeno. I must be an American.
Yeah,
Why
I-
am I like half British?
Xenomorph is what I go to. So
Right.
Xeno.
Xeno. Okay.
Yeah.
Xenophobe.
Say Xenomorph. I don't actually ever say
Do you
Xenomorph.
pronounce it Xena? Like warrior princess?
No.
It would be Xena, right?
That was a
So-
societal thing that was pressured upon me, though. Everybody said, like, you
But
watch
you
the
would've
opening
called
show
her-
roll, and it goes, in a land wherever Xena was. And it was like, okay, Xena.
Well, there
But
it
you
is.
would have called her Xena?
I might have.
Well, Xena's
I
also
hadn't
a-
played Xenogears by the time Xena came out. That was afterwards, so I said Xena, and then I still went on to call it Xenogears. I don't know why.
Just naturally backwards.
It's all right. Different regional
Different
dialects.
strips.
You probably call soda pop also.
Do you?
You call a van
I'm
a truck.
American. I call it soda.
Come back from buying a car and tell everybody I got a screaming deal? You don't do that.
I like when old people say they got something on special.
Well,
I got this car on special.
It was on special.
What'd you get? They gave me a financing dealie. What did they?
0 APR.
0 APR. Well, so we're gonna pull that into. You had a question. Irene had a question. Everybody about Bravely Default, because Bravely Default just popped, and two of us have bought it.
Wait,
No, you didn't.
I didn't buy it.
Oh,
no, I know.
one of us has it.
Thanks,
One of us
Piper.
should
Demo.
have it. Yeah,
I played the demo.
that's right.
As did I. I was going to ask who bought it, who played it. What do you guys think of it so far? So I guess you're the one who bought it
And played it, yeah.
and played.
Bought
And
it
you,
and
I
played
assume
it.
you beat the demo also.
Did
before
beat the
you,
demo.
okay.
I didn't beat it completely because somebody said I was at the fight night, and Mike said it's not.
He said the consequences, or rather the benefits of playing through the demo, weren't as substantial as he was hoping.
Right.
So that you didn't necessarily need to play through the demo before jumping into the main game, because that's what a lot of people were doing. Was the demo was supposed to give you some big bonus before you jumped into the main game, and so people were playing through that first. But it's not. I don't know. Apparently, it's not super necessary.
You get, he said, a bundle of items, which is like 2 potions or 5 potions or something like that. A couple of like echo
Echo
orbs,
screens?
echo screens for whatever silence. Which seemed a little. You didn't get like an antidote or anything.
It's like
which-
the exact same names as Final Fantasy items.
they are, and actually, if you look at the little items next to them, it looks like tactics. The little sprites look like little tactics.
Wasn't it supposed to be a Final Fantasy game at
Maybe.
one point? And then they're like, no, just make it.
It damn
make
show
it
is
so-
close to
It's
I
Final
think
Fantasy.
that's
Like,
what the issue was.
It's the same developer, or
Yeah.
rather the same team and artist as Final Fantasy: The 4 Heroes of Light.
Yeah,
on-
that's what they.
And the
That's
3
what I
remake on
heard was that it
DS
was supposed
and-
to be a sequel to that,
It's a
but then they changed it
spiritual
halfway
successor
through.
now, I think.
because they all have their
Yeah.
little nubby Fire Emblem legs that just come down into like pencil points and flock around like the pirate.
They're
now.
gonna hold up laundry on a line. Just
Right. But so they look like little guys too. But then, your little bonus package is that, and I think you end up, if you beat all the bosses or something, you get a sword, which he said was not good enough to like surpass what you get outside of like the first hour or 2 of the game.
I still think it's. I mean, like, why wouldn't you play through a demo if you really like? I feel like I didn't know that I had
true.
finished the demo when I beat it.
Well, it's content
So-
that you don't get in the game.
Exactly.
It's all
Yeah.
exclusive content.
It was-
That's just not in the next.
That's very
Yeah.
cool.
So-
Most demos aren't like that, and the fact that this demo carries over into the main game, whether it's substantial or not, is interesting. It's
It
cool.
is.
It's a cool
It was
concept.
Cool content. You get to see a little bit of how the map. I think it was mostly probably for people who were going to get the game that had to wait however long from when they released the demo to the game, and they couldn't. They were like tear down the walls of Square Enix before. they get it. So it's just like, here's a sampling, play however much of this. So we put like 3 bosses in there, and you can have items and see the day-night cycle and
Look at the combat system.
work out the combat system and do some stuff early. And I think you actually get to keep, that was another bonus point, was that you have to build this little village by yourself. So you're building this theoretical village that you don't ever really get to go to. But
Yeah,
you
but
build
they do
it.
stuff. It affects you in the actual game.
Yeah,
so.
and you get to keep 40 villagers. So if you
I
pass,
think so, yeah.
in
And
the
is that
demo,
the
you
thing
can
where
pull
if
those
you
over to the
have
game.
you street pass people, it like gives you more people?
And the more
I
people
didn't
you have,
know
doesn't
because it's just the demo version. But.
it make the construction go faster the more street
Yeah,
passes?
yeah.
you
Because
have,
it's
right?
division of labor.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you put it's an hour job, you put 2 people on it, it's 30-minute
Gotcha.
job.
You just conscript people you find on the street by street passing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You there, you look sturdy enough. You want to sell
Sturdy.
some linen?
Like, please, no.
Sell some textiles.
Sell some textiles? Is another old thing old people say.
Textiles on special.
That's a bad
That's a bad one.
Selling textiles. That's a bad one.
Oh, you better believe that's a bad one.
Better believe that's a bad one. Oh, Jasper.
So
I really like the way that game tackles an old-fashioned gameplay style because it's very traditional, right? I mean, you've got 4 characters on screen, enemies on the other side. You take turns attacking, but it gives you options that make it, first of all, very, I think, mobile friendly. Like the whole turning the encounters thing off is great.
It is.
I guess that's just friendly in general for a turn-based game. Because turn-based games have that, or not turn-based games, but games with random encounters can be trouble if you're low on supplies, low on health, especially if you don't get full health back at the end of a battle, which this game doesn't give you.
There's no save point anywhere near.
No save point anywhere near. And you got to make it back to safety, and you've got like 4 or 5 random battles ahead of you, and so you have to run every time.
Or a boss fight ahead of you. You got to back to the beginning of the area
Right.
and try to like hope you have a tent or something on you, or like just kind of book it to a shop or something.
Right.
That's an interesting segue into the next thing, the turn-based combat, which is
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
let's
your
talk
arena.
about it. Well, I was gonna actually ask what you guys thought of the Brave system. Like, how did you have any? Because like for me, I don't really like study games before I actually play them. I never ever did that. Like now,
research it in magazines or anything like that.
like
Or?
look on the internet, like see how everyone's sussing it out. Like I tried
Sure.
to figure out like how the Brave system would like benefit like how you can use it in the game and like
Right.
on my own. I didn't try to look like how are people fighting this boss or whatever. So
Right.
I want to know like did you guys have any troubles with figuring out the like how to best utilize the Brave system or
I think there are strategies to it, and I haven't found anything that's like extra genius about it. Mike was giving me a couple of his little pointers. He swears by stalking for at least 3 turns or something like that. So you stalk for like 2 or 3 turns, and then you brave it down to 0. Because you can only use 4 actions.
you mean like
at a
defaulting?
Time. Yeah, you
for 4
default
turns? Okay.
all the way back up, so you can default. I think up to I can't remember
3
how many
times,
moves.
I think.
Yeah, you can
you get
default
4.
so that you have 4 just moves banked,
Right.
and then you can only ever use 4 moves at a time. So you can like default 2 and then brave 4, so you go deficit 2, and then you just have to sit around for 2 turns. Or you can like default 4, brave all those 4, and then be able to act, which I think is what he was talking about doing. Unless you can kill the enemies, like you're in an area where you're strong, like just strong enough that all 4 of your characters can brave 4 times and wipe out that entire party, then just do it.
So you didn't actually beat the last boss in the
In the demo, no.
Did you beat the last boss?
No, I didn't.
Okay, nobody. Okay, never mind. Then we don't have to talk about that.
I did play the battle system, or I did enjoy the battle system though.
This is,
I did
I think
too.
this is what Bringing It Back is for. So Bringing It Back segment, to define it a little bit, is stuff that we would like to see again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's what our Bringing It Back is. This one is turn-based combat.
Bringing it back just to give it a little bit of definition, Bringing It Back, turn-based combat.
Yeah.
And I think actually we picked a good game to kind of
Seg.
to segue in.
Thank you.
Segue.
Segue.
Into was Bravely Default because it's the first one I've seen that does. I'm trying to think of another turn-based combat recently, but like a good game that does actual turn-based combat in recent history, and it's one that does it well, and it actually has innovated it rather than just done turn-based combat.
Exactly. It's kind of.
It's like, oh,
freshened it up a
hey,
little.
you magic or you attack or you hit or whatever, and
I mean, it really hasn't done anything with it because it's still like it can
There's
get
a risk
stale,
reward system
you know.
now, though. I mean, it can
Yeah.
get stale, but like they've given you a
Yeah.
couple of options now. So if you really like, you have a couple of options that you didn't have in, say, Final Fantasy VIII or something like that. You're gonna do stuff, and you're like, I'm just doing nothing, but I have these things that I could do. So you can just take 4 turns and
Well, sure,
like,
no,
burn
I
them
mean-
and then do something and be like, that worked well, and I got to do it right now.
Yeah.
Is that instant gratification? I suppose they've just added a
guess.
little bit of.
Yeah.
So it's more than just attack, skill, item, run. defend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That got stale with older turn-based.
I'm going to attack, magic, and then escape.
There's a gamble, involved in Bravely Default because you're gambling your time and the ability to act.
Right.
And so that creates an interesting dynamic with the turn-based combat because it's a whole risk-reward system. So, like, defaulting 3 times, attacking 4 seems smart unless... defaulting, like, twice and then attacking 4 where you're sacrificing turns. That's
Right.
the gamble, but not if you think you can kill it. And so... I guess it rewards knowing the strength of your enemy, maybe learning the comes with
it's-
experience of playing the game.
It's
It
more
does.
complicated because you can't just keep using the same formula to fight everything. And
Right.
I also like the pairing of like the abilities, like, and also your jobs, like,
That was cool.
Switching that all around too. Got a little tactics there.
That's another podcast right there. Job
that is,
systems.
yes.
I want to bring those
We'll
back.
bring
it
Which,
back.
I mean, I
Job-
suppose
yeah.
this has.
Lightning
Yeah.
Returns brings job systems back.
But
That's another podcast.
so I wanted to know, Chris, because you said that you really wanted it to come back, like turn-based combat. Like, what did you love so much about turn-based combat in the first place? Like, why would you prefer to play a turn-based combat game versus, I don't know, real-time game?
Right.
I always found there to be a feeling of tenseness. Like, for instance, Final Fantasy VI is like my favorite Final Fantasy game. I think it's an excellent example of turn-based combat. But that game had the active time battle system. So I actually really enjoy the active time battle system because it's turn-based, but it's a little bit faster paced. I don't really like how, and Bravely Default does this, and like Dragon Quest does it, but like where you give the commands to your team ahead of time completely, and then you hit start, and and then they go ahead and act out. All 4 characters act out those. I like to be able to take control of each individual character, and Final Fantasy usually does that. And 6 had the active time battle system, so I really enjoyed that. But I don't know, the sense of having an enemy on one side, your party on the other side, just adds this sense of strategy. The pace is a little bit slower than a real time combat game, and you can plan out strategies ahead of time. You can.
You have everybody banked up instead of like, say the train's gonna like come at you and be like, and say you don't use the Phoenix down to kill it.
I like the strategy involved in that you have more time to plot a strategy out on a turn-based game, and I enjoy that slower pace, I suppose.
I agree. I also kind of like, because when I think of like current like real-time active combat like that games have nowadays, I think of it as just all being reactive. Like you
Nowadays.
have to react to your environment no matter what. Whereas, with turn-based, you're more active than reactive. So I like that. And it feels more like I'm playing like D&D or something because I'm seeing the stats. I'm seeing how I have control over how it affects stuff and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you do still have that with current games, but I think they take it to a greater degree in turn-based.
The problem for me was that you have this gigantic, and this is just like being old fashioned, but you have this gigantic history of these games that you nothing but enjoy, all the way up through like, you have old Mario RPG, Lufia, Final Fantasy VI, just this whole chunk of like these games that are turn based, and all of a sudden Star Ocean comes along, which is the first one that kind of broke me, and I play Star Ocean, and it's just this active battle system where it gets mushy and everybody starts rushing you, and you're just like, shit, what do I do? All clumped in and stuff, and you're like, well, I can't. Now, like, to try to, like, move, and now I've got to, like, go out here, but they've made these new systems where you can link your attack with some other guy, and they've made everything all crazy. And I guess you get used to it, but I did not take to it.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, you're kind of, it's a safe zone, like, because, like, for the Super Nintendo RPG era, I was only, like, 10, 11 years old when that stuff was coming out, and I didn't, I wasn't really that great at playing video games, so I appreciated that, there was a lower learning curve, like that it was easier.
Yeah.
So,
You make a good point when you said it's active instead of reactive, because when you have a game that's like a Final Fantasy or a Chrono Trigger or a Lufia where you wait for your turn to come around. You don't have to have quick reflexes. You don't have to master a combo system with something like a Ninja Gaiden or a Devil May Cry. Like you just have a menu system. You have a fight. You have magic. You have item, and you can plan things out. I don't know. It seems,
and you can actually make it really cool when you have when you're not just reacting. You could think of really cool combos. Like for Chrono Trigger, you can think of what's the best dual combo or something that you can use on someone. Yeah, dual tech that you can use rather than just doing it because you have to react really quickly. So
well, just because you have turn-based combat doesn't mean you don't get a combo system.
Or reaction,
No,
because
I know.
you're reacting.
Right, so I mean, you do Legend
that's what I'm
of
saying. That
Dragoon,
you have more
this weird,
time to think it out, and that you can do perhaps more damage, or give yourself more time to heal or whatever.
Yeah,
and
so it was. But do you think it's a learning curve thing though? It's not just because I still
I think
prefer a
it's-
turn-based combat even now, even though I can do an active battle time.
Sure.
I just don't like it.
For me, that's what drew me to it. That's not the only reason I like it, but I mean, I appreciate that aspect of it.
Right.
So, I
Legend
also
of
just like
Dragoon.
RPGs. So.
Dad, Legend of Dragoon.
Legend of Dragoon had a lot of great things going for it.
This is a turn-based.
It was
podcast,
turn- it was
and we're
turn-based.
That's gonna have its turn.
Legend of
It's a
Dragoon.
moment in the sun. It's gonna have to.
Well-
That did a lot of things right as far as we'll keep it.
It
We'll
did,
keep it
but-
relative. The turn-based combat in that. So the combat system that was new to me, it first turned me off, and it was just you have this square that moves in on a square, and you have to line that up and match it right. I'm like, this game sucks. I hate it. And then I started playing, and I was like, oh, okay, this is all right. It was still turn-based. It was still familiar ground, still familiar area. But when you're hitting things, and then you're you upgrade each combo, so you only have, I guess, one at first. You have to hit the first square, and he just does a double slash. And then you do a couple more, and he does this volcano slash thing. He's did a couple you're doing things. By the end of it, you're with not Lavitz, but Albert. When you're planting it in, spinning around it, twisting up, slapping it down. It's
50 hours into that game, you got those button presses.
16
down.
freaking hit combos. It's just basically playing Guitar Hero. When to hit. Each
I think it was a
one.
double-edged sword because the timing was pretty precise on those combos.
It was.
And there were some times where, especially that game had a high encounter rate. There was a lot of random battles in that game, and that's another thing. That's one of my least favorite things about that game is they had this quote innovative marker that would tell you when you were close to getting to a random battle, so you would know.
Yeah.
You remember that?
It's red. It's red.
Yeah.
Oh my god! You take
All
one more
that did
step.
was stress you out
That's
because
the freaking
you
what
know
is it,
what's coming.
five hand punch from Kill Bill, where it's just you got 7 steps, and then you got to fight
Yeah.
or die. I mean, but
You know that it's coming, and it just stresses you out. You're like, fuck.
it becomes impending at that point.
Yeah.
It's
You
start
oh
looking
hey,
for
this
a
is
zone
this
line.
makes it easier for you.
Just walk out and come back in, so start it all over.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll walk into this room simply to throw him off my trail.
Like a mini heart attack every 10, 11 steps.
Yeah. No, it was
It's awful.
I really enjoyed that game, but that battle system was very. It got tedious to me, I think, because once you got those 16 hit combos,
I liked
you're
it.
I don't know. You're 60
4 or 5
hours
times
in.
a fight.
I was a machine.
All right.
I was such a machine. I would just do them forever. I was like, oh man, freaking windy twirl, whatever.
Windy twirl.
Windy twirl. That is what he calls his ultimate move.
Is that what it was called?
No.
No, I don't
That
remember.
was a bald-faced lie from me to you.
Great.
Yeah. I still miss it. That's it.
No, the game overall is very. I have very fond memories of that game.
That feels like that. And I toot the horn all the time. Mario RPG had the first, not probably the first, but one of the first little systems where you have a turn-based combat. You have your turn, and then when you hit your turn, you can bonk, boink, follow up with a button press to pull that off, or a default when the enemy throws the punch, when it's going to hit your character, press B, and then you
defend
duck
against it.
to get half damage or something. It seems like one of the first ones to do that. There might have been others, but
It created an interactive element to the turn-based, and it created a skill-based element to this turn-based
Right.
system.
which I think followed on in
Yeah.
other titles.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly the Mario titles, the Mario and Luigi, or
Mario and Luigi does the same thing.
right. So that's almost the same franchise though.
It's simple and it's effective. It keeps you involved in the battle. You can't just watch an enemy hit you. You have to actually
You
be
can
involved. You can. Yeah, I wouldn't.
you shouldn't.
You get extra attacks if you time it right, and those attacks usually were extra cool,
Right.
Bowser would do his little drill claw thing if you timed it right.
Or throw a chain jump and
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
it's awesome.
That was.
Turn-based systems, like Mario, they evolved, man. And so like you talked about Star Ocean.
Yes.
You're probably talking about Star Ocean 2, right?
I think so.
PlayStation
Yeah.
1,
I don't think I played the first.
Well, the first one never came to the United States.
Yeah.
It came on the PSP.
Little
eventually.
did you all know that I was actually David Carradine's miniature traveling companion, and I walked the earth,
Nice.
sir. So I had been to the Eastern Lands, and I played that game.
You played the original Star Ocean?
Played the shit out of that game.
Nice.
In China.
Cool.
In the land of China. I didn't at all.
All right.
You might learn when I'm lying. Like,
I know you're lying.
you know I'm
like,
lying.
so when
yeah.
you're talking is when
Yeah.
you're lying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
My nods are
You
sarcastic.
can trust me, I'm smiling.
Welcome to MultiTap Podcast. I like you all. I can't keep it up. No, it's... Yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't play number 1. It was probably number 2, second... Even, actually, maybe the one
Was
after
it
that.
Clyde or Claude? Claude and Rena.
I can't even remember
Blonde-haired
now.
kid. Blonde-haired kid. You get the guy with the 2 dragons, the girl with the blue hair.
That does sound familiar, actually.
There's hella voice in that game. Like, everybody's just screaming their attacks at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know a few games like that, but I think... Yeah. But it was... Yeah, it's just this... You step out onto it, active battle time system. It's just a field, really. A field of vision. And
Yeah,
then it's
you
just
run
you
around.
run out there and, like...
Everybody's just going nuts.
slash like an idiot and maybe get killed, or maybe, can figure out what you're doing. I'm sure other people were far more competent at it than I was. Like, it's like, oh no, my health is draining, but you're also have to keep in, your teammates are like very far away from you, and some like they're using stuff that you should be shutting them down on. It's like you've used all of our potions, you have no MP, I'm the only one alive. What happened?
Well, you
And that
manage
seems
their behavior.
Right, so that's another thing you have to do outside of it that you don't really have to do inside of a turn-based system. Because
Right.
actually, usually you control everybody else.
Right, and that's the beauty of
turn.
that's the beauty of a turn-based system.
Right.
is
Whereas everybody else
full
is like,
control.
I mean, if we get below 50%, then you got to set potion health to this guy or whatever like that. But then
Yeah.
it still makes the battle nutty, and you get used to it over time. And there's some games that I actually kind of prefer it on, but
Oh yeah.
the first action battle game that I ever played was Tales of Destiny.
Mine was Tales of Fantasia, which is the right before Tales of Destiny.
Right.
My friend had
I didn't play that.
he had Tales of Fantasia on an imported Super Nintendo or Super Famicom.
Sure.
And it was so impressive because that game's opening it just dumps you into a battle, and it's like a boss battle, and yes.
Plays a hell
But
of a
there's
level,
no
guys,
on the Super Nintendo, you didn't have a lot of voice in games back then, but that game had tons of voice. So like when you jump into that battle, like it's in Japanese, but this guy's screaming out like this magic chant and kills this boss. It's just it's really impressive, and that made me really like the Tales series. And so Tales of Destiny,
Yeah.
Ston,
Ston, and then
Aileron,
yeah.
Ruti or whatever.
I remember we played Tales of Destiny back in the day. It was Ston, and we were laughing our asses off because it was just like, oh, Ston, and it was the weirdest name, had an H in the middle of it. What did we play after that? It was like Legend of Legaia, and we're like, oh man, as long as his name's not Ston, it was just Vaughn with an H.
Yeah.
What the hell? Right?
Those are the games that had hella jellies, didn't they? Like for the healing items and
Orange gels,
Yeah.
yeah.
Legend of Legaia.
Lemon
I
gels
always
and
wanted to-
orange
the
I'm
gels.
Tales
like-
games. I always
Tales
like
games,
Tales,
yeah.
shit. They just look so good to me for some reason. I'm
You
like,
could just
I
chow
want
down
one.
on basically a slime or like
yeah,
the
but they
top
sometimes
cap
they're
of
like,
the
this one's
jellyfish.
apple. Have some apple. I'm
Apple
like,
gel?
Apple gel.
Absolutely, I
This
will.
one only does 20 health.
I'll buy extra. I'll chew them on the road.
We put oranges in the other one. Oranges give you 50 health.
I like that when
Those numbers are probably not
when
representative.
but I think it was something like that. It was a percentage, and I love healing items that scale with you, so it's always useful.
Right.
Like, oh, I found
was
this
well
garbage,
thought out.
100 hit points. Blah.
2 is so much better to me than 1. This is already getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like these games. We'll talk about these games later on, but yeah.
Tales of Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Tales of Eternia.
Tales of Eternia.
Yeah.
Some badness.
I love.
We're gonna
Tales
talk
of
about
Eternia.
that.
We got a Tales night.
Tales cast.
I love Tales.
I love Miles Tales per hour.
Sure.
There you go.
Per hour.
Get it?
Have you guys? This is
Six
getting off topic,
Lexia. Yes. What?
but yeah, Sonic Boom, the new Sonic
He's got a scarf.
cartoon. Yeah,
No, I have
and
not.
Tails has like
I haven't seen Tails.
he
And...
has like steampunk goggles.
Of course he does.
Steampunk goggles.
Well, they're goggles. I don't
Gogs
know if they're
McKenzie.
steampunk.
Are they above on the brim of his top hat that could impossibly be worn because he cannot take them off of?
There's no top hat.
Does he
Alright.
have 2 Derringers, one hidden in his garter and one hidden like under his shoulder, under his armpit?
I think they omitted the Derringers this time around.
Alrighty.
But,
That's for Shadow. Shadow has the gun.
Them Derringers
Shadow
are powerful.
literally
weak.
has a gun, which is always was weird to me.
He's the black one.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say.
He got a gun in
His own
Shadow
game.
the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
It was like 2004. They gave him my gun.
Right.
What the hell is Sega like?
Hopping on heads isn't good enough anymore.
Turning into a living.
It's like they had a
buzz
meeting.
weapon.
We have to differentiate ourselves from the plumber.
Did it even have? I didn't ever play that game. Did it have anything like the targeting system, like playing like the robot or whatever in Sonic Adventure? You'd lock onto shit and.
I don't think there was a lock on. I don't remember there being a lock on.
I was just hoping it'd be like that was kind of fun, but whatever. Fuck Shadow.
I love Sonic, and I'm so sad that Sega has like just
Gone.
poured him out.
Yeah.
It's
They have like 5 Sonic and Mario Winter Olympic games.
They do.
I don't.
How does Sonic
Did
not win any of the
How does-
decathlons or whatever like that? Like
It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit.
they're just
You're
like,
telling
the
me-
DC crew does the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics, and we're like, I was like, okay, so does the Flash win the foot race? Because if not, bullshit.
Exactly.
Like,
You're telling me Sonic is having a foot race with anybody
Right.
and losing. It's ridiculous.
like Mario beats
Especially
him and
a
goes,
fat
"You're too
plumber.
slow."
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen.
Throws his own catchphrase.
Sonic.
It's me, Sonic.
Yeah, you're pretty good
They
Sonic.
should do that.
That's just my like anime protagonist voice.
That was a good Sonic.
There's volcano.
Every anime protagonist,
You're right.
in fact,
Pretty much
is Sonic.
everyone.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Chili dogs. Hey Tails, how's it going? You'd be like, oh Sonic, gotta get in the airplane. That's all I got for Tails. Eggman.
Why is he like the Egoraptor Mega Man? We gotta get in the airplane. Gives you the most basic commands. No, I only know how to run fast. What do we do?
Press X, Sonic. That makes you jump. X. What kind
Just
of
like
system am I
Sega
on now?
Genesis. He's like, there's
He's
no...
got to have the 6
X
button
isn't
pad.
working out
Or
for
he
me.
can't jump.
There is an X
It's
on the 6
DLC
button
in
pad,
its
yeah.
purest, oldest form. You must have the 6-button controller in order to play Mortal Kombat.
DLC adds an X button to your controller.
Added 3 buttons. You can play Mortal Kombat.
I
without it.
know.
You're
I
just
have to
gonna be
hold forward to high punch. Fuck
Yeah.
that.
Or you have to play Street Fighter and press start to do kicks. That was stupid. That
Samurai-
was their solution.
That was a thing.
Samurai
Push
Showdown.
start
same
to
thing.
kick.
On the
like-
Sega Genesis Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition,
No.
most Genesices, most Genocide players
Genesis. Yeah.
had 3-button Genesis controllers. That game's a 6-button game, so literally, if you want to switch to the kicks, you press start and
It's
it
a
switches to
toggle.
kicks.
That's dumb.
It's a toggle.
That's the
Toggle
dumbest.
punches the kicks.
I would always find a character who had all their special
Toggle
moves
your-
on one. I'd be like, oh, my fireball's on punch. Guess I'm not switching to kicks.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
That's all it really made you do was never press start. You just pick a character and just only do hard kicks.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say any video game that makes commands harder than you could just do them in life is a poorly made video game.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They're supposed to make them easier. Like,
Yeah.
if you do something, like if you press the A button and they do like, they do like a million punches, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is a video game. But if
I can
they're like,
do-
oh, I have to do this thing, go into a menu, toggle over to kicks, and then go back out, or you could have just
That's bullshit. I can do Fireball in real life way faster than I can do one in
Right.
Sega Genesis Street Fighter 2.
I could do what's that called, the windy twirl.
The Windy
Windy
Twirl.
Twirl.
I only have to push nearly as many buttons as I did in that bullshit Dragoon.
The Windy
tell you
Twirl-
what right now.
Wait, the Windy Twirl also works for Ryu and Ken's Hurricane.
yeah, that's what I thought you were
Yeah.
saying. And then I'm like, oh,
That's
Legendary.
officially the Windy Twirl now. It's officially the Windy Twirl. I'm going to use that.
Lavitz versus Ryu.
Yeah. Who has a better Windy Twirl?
There's a bit of windy twirl.
I think it depends
or actually
on-
Ken, I guess. Ken has the windy twirl.
I think they
Ken's
Because
both-
we do
is
one of them?
more of a Windy Twirl because he
Yeah.
hits multiple times. That's that's your Ken.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. good. That's more of a Chen.
Just keep going forever until
He's just screaming gibberish as he's spinning in the
yeah.
air.
He
Completely.
thinks he's Japanese.
Well, he is like denying physics.
Yeah.
like the Japanese are known to do.
Right. He's like, he's spinning. It's a helicopter. He can
Crouching
float.
tiger,
What do you
hidden
think?
You
king.
can float. What do you think?
Helicopters float. He's spinning like a helicopter. Chill out.
He trained with a lot of
Quit.
helicopters.
Hating.
It's just
Twisting his leg to the perfect aerodynamic angle of
Right.
martial arts.
This is tangent casting.
This is way off.
this.
topic.
Well, that's the specialty.
That's a special.
That's the soup du jour.
Yeah.
Clearly, we moved somewhere else.
We did
Yeah,
took-
that
took
stopped
the
a
train
while
on
ago. Yeah.
the blues train.
We got on
The blues
at the turn-based station, and now we're in
Yeah.
Capcom.
Now we're in
and we want to
Street
get on a
Fightersville.
new train.
Sonic's In a fighting game, you can put Sonic against Street Fighter. He's in Smash Brothers.
It's a Smash Brothers fighting game. There's so
legit.
many people
He's fighting
get mad
Mega
if
Man.
you call that.
That's true.
What?
There's so many people get mad if you call Smash
Oh.
Brothers a fighting game.
It's true.
It
They
is a
use
Why?
it in
I don't know.
tournaments.
It's a fighting game.
Fighting game.
It is by definition.
What if it's not a fighting game? What is it then?
I don't know.
Well,
That's not mine.
Nintendo
That's
wants
not
it to
mine
be
to
a
get mad
family
about.
party
No, I know. I
brawler.
just don't understand why they would say that. If,
people get all uppity about like it's a fighting game, but it's a very simplistic fighting game, and so they don't feel it's, I guess, worthy of the moniker. I don't know. It's a
Bro,
fighting
do you
game.
even wave dash? No.
There are some advanced techniques in Smash Bros. I'm sure higher
Right.
level players will tell you. If you watch Smash Bros. was at Evo last year, and there were
Right.
some really really intense matches.
Although I heard there was some stuff they did, like Nintendo is against it going to Evo and all that stuff because it wants it to be a cash thing, like a family cash.
Nintendo's-
What's it all cashmere?
They play like Wii Sports at Evo, I think.
Oh yeah,
Are they really?
no.
Oh my gosh, competitive bowling! We would have so many grannies. Everybody who bought the Wii for bowling would be there.
My grandma bought a Wii.
Everybody's grandma bought. I think we said the same thing in the last.
It's just
Issue.
insane that they were able to achieve that level of just mainstream success with the Wii, and they completely shit the bed
They
with their design on the Wii U.
they permeated everybody's family up to their grandma.
Yeah, for
Every
fucking
bowling.
bowling. My
Got a
grandma
bowling.
literally-
Can I play-
much easier than my ball.
Can I play Xenoblade Chronicles?
No.
Why do you call it Xenoblade, Billy?
It's Xeno.
Every one of us calls it Xenoblade.
You fat.
Every one of us, all the old grannies and all the families.
Yeah, but yeah. So well, no, my grandma doesn't, but she,
Calls it Xenoblade.
no, it's called Xenoblade. Yeah, she didn't get a Wii, but there's a Wii here. And it's
She's
been
still
bowled
alive?
on.
Still kicking?
My grandma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get her a Wii.
Get her a
She
Wii.
like it.
Hey, Grandma, you guys have power out in Arkansas? Do you guys have electricity out there?
I have a problem.
I bought you a Wii. They're pretty cheap now.
I have a problem with
Happy
Arkansas.
Christmas.
Problem with Arkansas.
I have a problem with Arkansas.
Do tell.
I hate that
Is
it's
this video game related?
Kansas?
I hate that it's Arkansas and not Arkansas. Look, if it's going to be Arkansas, then it's also got to be Kansas. Okay?
do you call her Zena?
Yeah. Okay.
There's this.
no, but that's
Then,
a good point.
if
Why
it's going to
is it
be Arkansas, why is it not Arkansas?
The
And
only thing I can think of is
You
like
aren't in
there's
Kansas
a French
anymore?
influence where they don't pronounce the S.
that's even less. That's even more reason to call it Arkansas.
What do you call
Yeah.
this?
An arm?
What do you call water when it's Lukish?
Lukish?
When it's not hot, nor is it cold. When it's right in the middle.
Warm?
Why is it not warm?
Hey, good fucking question.
There's so many of these inconsistencies in life. I think we should all just quit.
Stupid English language.
We should all just quit.
It needs to be
Yeah.
Arkansas, or we need to start calling Kansas Kansas.
Yeah. Topeka, Kansas.
There you go.
All right. Remember
Anyway.
that video game?
Anyway, how's Capcom? Chris.
Are we talking about current state of Capcom? Or we're
Right.
talking about Capcom.
Actually, I heard they have their
back in the day.
their
Capcom.
home office is or was located in Kansas.
No, nothing
That's
is
not
impossible.
at all.
There
I
are
think it's
no
in the
video
Bay
game
Area.
companies in
In the on the
Nobody
Bible Belt.
owns video games in Kansas.
Yeah,
I've never- in Kansas.
That's why you would ask about the Wii. Be like, Grandma,
clearly our target audience is not in
Kansas.
Kansas,
or
no.
Arkansas.
Well, if it's consistent with my claim, I don't think Kansas has any working power. I don't think they
well-
use electricity out
I
there.
don't think they necessarily.
If anyone
have
from
computers to
Kansas
get this
can
podcast.
hear us,
Right.
please, we'll send help.
Send a care package.
Please, how did you get this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Explain to us how you achieved.
Let us know that you're out there and you're okay.
Follow our Twitter with Morse code. Like, just give us the deets of where you are, and we'll
Carrier pigeon.
Yes.
send you a care package. We can't get you out of there. I'm sorry, but
Oh, not a chance.
no.
Well, or figure out how you pronounce your fucking state name, and then we'll start working on the rest of the problems.
Right. We'll start like, hey man, why is this named this and the other one's named something different?
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
You get with Arkansas and decide who's fucking
Duke the
right,
shit
who's
out,
Kansan, who's what, I don't know. We'll
Duke
figure it
the
out.
shit.
Then we'll have a
Yes.
winner, and then we'll figure out some answers.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
In the meantime, what have you heard about Capcom?
are we talking
news?
about current? Are we talking
What
about?
about all of it?
It is bit by bit is going to be a breakdown of like the entire of how the progression of the franchise, or I guess in this case the company has progressed. That's redundant.
Capcom is very near and dear to my heart. Capcom has made some of my favorite all-time just franchises, characters.
Project Cross Zone,
Project Cross Zone, I
That's
like.
your-
They didn't make that, but
but they sure use the hell out of Capcom characters.
They use Capcom characters, they use Sega characters, and they use Namco characters.
That's right. They did use Namco and Sega.
Monolith
They put Sonic on
Soft
there?
makes that game. No,
Like
no.
Monolith from like Blood.
No,
and
Monolith
Shogo?
Soft from like Xenosaga?
Zeno?
Xenosaga, you mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Xenosaga?
Xenosaga?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce
Xenos-
that?
Xenosaga.
Xenosaga.
Xenosaga. So, old Capcom.
Well, Capcom has they've made some of my favorite stuff ever. Mega Man is my favorite everything.
Right.
You guys know this, but
Sure, yeah.
for the listeners, I'm a huge Mega Man fan.
This is episode 1. You got to square with them
I
and let them know
remember-
who you are.
I fucking love Mega Man. I love all things Mega Man.
I call bullshit real quick.
Really?
Yeah.
On what?
Convince me.
About me?
About your
convince
love for
you
Mega Man.
That I like Mega Man?
Yeah.
I
need convincing.
have everything Mega Man has released in this country, like ever. If it had Mega Man on it, I bought it.
Is that true facts? Is that like you have
Yeah.
every Mega Man thing?
I'm pretty sure I have every piece of merchandise that Mega Man has released.
What's that little monster who's just a helmet and eyes and feet?
That
The
is
hard hat.
The hard hat.
Yeah,
Is it called a hard hat?
I have it.
You have it? You have a toy?
I have a figure of him. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that was actually the bar that I set. So if you have that, you love Mega
If that
Man.
you love it enough.
Continue.
I'm looking for a
Capcom.
Bubble Man.
I just love Mega Man. I might be exaggerating a little. I don't have every single like action figure that was released in Japan and
Well,
stuff
sure.
like that. I have some of them. I have the D-Art stuff, but Keiji Inafune, the creator of Mega Man, was my hero, and
He's
still
a
doing
hero.
great
He's
things.
still
Yeah, I mean,
he's
Mighty
an
Number
active
9's
member
looking
of the
really
gaming
good.
community still.
Every login for everything was Keiji Inafune.
Password Keiji Inafune backwards.
But yeah, so for the longest time, I'm sure that dude wasn't able to make any logins
account.
for his.
Did you ever
With his
get
actual
people
name.
emailing you like, "Hey, is this the real Keiji?"
No, because this was the '90s and nobody knew who Keiji Inafune was because there was no internet.
Except for Chris, because Chris was cool before.
Well, not that nobody
Before
knew.
it was
Just
cool.
being like, I'm a Keiji Inafune hipster. I liked him before
Right.
you all knew about Mighty Number 9 and his fucking crazy Kickstarter success.
That is cool. They actually, Jason from FistFull of Potions, the other guy, he got. He's okay. I might be giving too much away about him, but he got like a $250 version or something like that. He got some kind of nuts version.
Yeah.
And he had. Oh man, it was so. We were just like, "What are you up to now?" He'd like done the next pledge up, so kept doing pledges and stuff. We were like, he's like, "You guys." We're like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm at 120."
Damn.
What do I do? And then he just keep working his way up to like some insane number. And you're like, well, I mean, what the joke was that like now that you've funded Keiji Inafune's project, like, what do we do? When can we expect it, Jason? He's just like, I don't know. I'm in talks. So
That's cool.
But yeah,
no,
so-
there were the goals on that, or the pledge rewards were pretty sweet. I was a real big fan of that whole campaign. But
it was a fun one to watch, even too.
yeah, it was exciting. It was
man,
real exciting. It was real exciting. They had to add stretch goals to that thing because they kept hitting them.
Like 6 stretch goals, right? It was like, what do you want to see this on next? Everybody's like 3DS.
Everything.
They hit
I want to see
3DS,
this
next gen
thing
systems.
on everything. I want this.
Right.
I want Mighty Number 9 on my hot pocket.
Pop
You
the
guys still buy
microwave.
Blackberries? Can we put Mighty Number 9 on Blackberries?
On
No?
a what are the
jitterbug?
calculators that they used to?
The Texas Instruments.
yeah, the
like,
Texas
make a
Instruments.
graph
TI
calculator.
89s or something like that.
Ironically, that's probably not too far fetched because
I played grandma bowling.
I had Mega Man on one of those TI 89
graphic
calculators. Yeah, it was a horrible version. But
TI
I loved
86.
it.
All the math nerds are going, it's
I
86!
know.
Like whatever it is.
Yelling at us.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
Type in.
If you're so smart, why aren't you talking on the internet?
If you're so smart, why are you complaining about calculators that you don't use?
You're so smart. Why is the sky even blue?
Yeah, why?
Bimbo. You dummy. Anyways.
Showed them.
So, yeah. Anyway, that was just supposed to illustrate my ridiculous affinity for Mega Man. Yeah, because that was even in the 90s, and that was like 15 plus years ago.
Long ass time.
Yeah.
Damn
Good
it, the
old bit.
90s.
I know.
Good lord.
So long.
Capcom.
Capcom owns the rights.
Yeah.
Oh,
Guys.
yeah, that's what we're talking
They own the rights for Keiji Inafune's
No,
piece.
Capcom-
Or likeness, yeah.
Capcom gave Keiji Inafune the boot for complete bullshit reasons. I feel like, hold on, you gotta back up. So,
Yeah, pull it all back. What about the progression for Capcom? Like, how is it? We're going to break this on down and get back to the meat. Because
Okay.
we just went straight off on this.
we are...
Inafune.
Yeah, we need to reel it on in. So.
Who is
right.
he to Capcom? I mean,
Right.
Capcom in the 80s
We're off on
was
some
fantastic.
weird, irrelevant,
Why
random
was it
tangent.
fantastic?
Really, Capcom in the 80s was Nintendo, was NES. They had a lot of games that, and to me, they were all great. I don't think Capcom made a bad game on Nintendo. In the 80s, they were using Captain Commando as their, like, you remember Captain Commando?
I do.
It was a very different Captain Commando from the Marvel vs. Capcom, like, futuristic.
Right.
But
Mega Soldier, Flamethrower, Lightning Man.
visor and
that Captain Commando did exist in the 90s because he had his own side-scrolling beat 'em up.
arcade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that game was great.
Actually, I played that.
Yeah, you fight as you can pick a baby and
Yeah, baby in a robo-suit.
Right.
It's like a weird, different Earthworm Jim from an alternate dimension.
Captain Commando, right?
Sure.
It was their mascot back then. He was on the back of every box, and he'd always say a quote like describing the game.
Winners
but
don't do drugs.
Winners don't do drugs.
This game
dude.
was rushed.
That's a fact. Yeah, this game was rushed to market. You should think twice.
You should buy it anyway.
Buyer
But
beware.
buy it anyway.
Captain Commando liked it.
He was like an old man back then. Anyway, the Nintendo Capcom releases were great. You had Trojan, you had Section Z. Not to mention, like, the Mega Man games.
Right.
You had Gunsmoke.
The stars of the show. Gunsmoke.
Yeah. Gunsmoke.
I didn't remember the first two you said, but Gunsmoke, man.
Trojan, you don't remember Trojan?
No.
Oh man, Trojan was good. You don't remember Section Z?
Not at all.
All right.
Was it the side scroll beating up?
1943, 1942?
Yes.
Yeah, those were Capcom. 1942.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. They made great. There's not. I don't think there was a bad Capcom game.
Listeners at home, he does not have a computer or a sheet of paper in front of him. Just rattling this shit off.
I've got to be missing a bunch of them. There's Street Fighter 2010.
I can't have listed every Capcom game yet.
No, but Capcom did not make a bad game, I don't think, on the regular Nintendo. I call it the regular Nintendo. That's like what I call it.
I think
do
I've
that.
always called it that too. NES seems way too formal because we had a relation.
I don't.
And I call it the
I just call
regular
it
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Really?
I don't even need the regular part.
I've always called it regular Nintendo. I think. I don't know.
I think I always called it the regular Nintendo. Even
Yeah.
back in the day, it'd be like the regular Nintendo
because,
when there was no other Nintendo.
When there was no other.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, what's the regular part?
Right.
There was the regular Nintendo, the Sega Nintendo, and then
Well,
Right.
Nintendo became
Because
like
that's
a
old.
pronoun
That's how
for,
old
like,
people do it. Yeah,
Every-
for
yeah.
video games.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
They're playing the Vector Man on their Nintendo system.
Well, I would hope that like our audience knows that we're talking about the NES.
Of course, yeah.
I
You
know
know,
what?
don't
There's
make
I think
assumptions.
there's a regional dialect though, because I hear a lot of people call it just NES, and then I also hear SNES, and I don't like SNES and NES. I
I've
don't
heard
know.
that too. And I think it's actually for emulators and ROMs more for me, like a SNES ROM or something like that. I
Yeah.
hear that a lot in that community. But
I don't like.
I never heard. Yeah, all I ever heard was Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo
I heard
and
SNES,
regular,
regular
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
That could be a
Yeah.
whole other topic too. With Nintendo's branding.
Branding
nonsense.
confusion. That's going to be a main
Yes.
event.
That's
That's going
going
to
to
be a
be
topic.
a whole other podcast.
That's
But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Capcom on Nintendo, fantastic. Could do no wrong. In my eyes, Capcom did no wrong on the Nintendo. They were still producing everything that people wanted. There was 6 Mega Man games on Nintendo. 6. There's no other franchise. No other franchise.
6, I tell you.
Did you hear that, Aaron? 6.
what?
Listeners,
Think about that. On one system, you've got 6 in the same franchise.
that is nutty, actually.
They don't
That's-
do that. I don't think there's been a single franchise. I mean, I don't have any way to back this up, but off the top of my head, I can't think of another franchise that has 6 entries, 6 main entries. Okay, actually, Assassin's Creed, I think, has 6 on one system. That sucks.
No.
Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed 2, 2, 2, 3, Assassin's Creed 3, and Assassin's Creed Black
2,
Flag.
2, 2, 3.
That's 6.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
You could go that way with Call of Duty, though.
Call of Duty on
That's-
one system. What was the first Call of Duty? Call of Duty 2 on 360, Call of Duty 3, Call of Duty 4, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2. Holy shit, Ghosts.
Ghosts.
They
That's
could be,
8.
you could separate
That's
that, though,
Call
by
of
the,
Duty-
by the two different
That's
groups.
That's Call of Duty
horrible.
jumping the
It is
shark, though.
horrible.
I mean,
That's horrible.
It's all the
many
same
Tony
fucking
Hawks?
game.
8 Tony Hawks.
There
But they
are
weren't on, but they
eight,
weren't on
yeah.
the same system.
No.
No.
They started on PlayStation 1.
No, there's
They-
9 Tony Hawks. Yeah, there's 9 Tony Hawks. It's
Although
Ride.
they got pretty. Yeah, they did.
fucking right.
They got pretty
Ride.
bullshitty for PS2 for a little while. So they're just like
No, but Tony Hawk-
Underground 2, American Wasteland, like all this. American
Thug
Wasteland
1,
was-
Thug 2,
But that was
Project 8.
that was unprecedented at the time, right? The Mega Man.
Yes.
6
Yeah.
games on it.
6
Yeah.
entries on one
Goodness, we do
platform.
not want to talk about Capcom.
I know.
But if you
right?
talk, if,
Hiding it.
So when did Capcom start jumping the shark?
well, here's the thing. Super Nintendo came around. Capcom still, I think, on their game. But
Yes. Well, I mean, so other things like
phenomenal.
Capcom
Breath of Fire,
without Mega Man.
Breath of Fire 1 and 2 started on Super Nintendo.
Breath of Fire.
Breath of Fire.
Breath of Fire.
Breath of Fire 1 and 2.
That was an early love. Turn-based combat.
Fantastic.
Breath of Fire, yeah.
Super good art,
I just
super good
jumped
story,
into
good music.
Turn-based combat.
Turn-based combat. It all comes around to turn-based combat.
It does.
The best games were turn-based, man. The best games were turn-based.
What was their first horrible?
The first, like commercial failure. I don't think they had a commercial failure on the Super Nintendo. I can't think of a game that didn't at least sell well or rate well. The PlayStation 1, Capcom definitely had some stinkers on the PlayStation 1, for sure.
Yeah.
You guys remember a game called Trickin' Snowboarding?
I know, yeah, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
You're supposed to say no because nobody's heard of that game.
I have a brother and I played that, not extensively, but I'm pretty sure like we tried a lot of games.
So
we had a Mr. Video right next to us, and we would check out a lot of stuff. Or not Mr. Video, what was that? We checked out a lot of games.
Okay.
So we had a pretty active...
Mr. Video?
We're not Mr. I don't think it was Mr. Video. We had already moved out of that neighborhood at that point.
We can have a whole topic on
Mr. Videocast?
Well, no.
This is nostalgia.
No, just old
Which
video
block
game.
you from? Which block?
Old video game. I live on
Down Sea Heights or North Islands?
North Islands.
North Islands? With a TH? North Islands?
No, with an F. North
Islands.
I used to live off Elkhorn and Don Julio, man. Like
Don Julio.
Don Julio.
Dude,
Is that how you pronounce it? Julio?
I've always said
I should ask this. Is that how you pronounce it?
Clearly, it's Julio.
Julio.
But I went to
Heifer with cheese, Julio?
Heifer. You son of a bitch! Ask me for a heifer with cheese, yo. Why are you gonna make me feel inferior because I'm on the grill?
B.
Damn. No, damn it. We're gonna have to edit this part out.
Do you want I'll edit this part out. I'm so good at editing, I don't even know.
You don't even know.
You don't even. So where were we?
We were talking about Capcom's first bad games.
Sure.
Not a weak one, but a fucking terrible one.
I'll tell you the first terrible Capcom game that I can immediately think of is Beatdown on PlayStation 2.
It's one of the ones that my brother and I did not rent.
Beatdown was horseshit. Also,
stinker.
just about as bad was Final Fight Streetwise.
I actually played that one.
Streetwise was a skosh better than Beatdown, but not by much. But not by much.
I actually did, okay, so I don't remember hating. I think I played that one, and I don't remember it being It wasn't okay. So maybe for Capcom actually, but it was not the worst game that I've ever played.
Oh, not the worst game not definitely the worst game, but it's pretty bad
by a damn sight. But
it's I don't know. It wasn't great at all. Well, they had this history of making you play as characters you don't want to play as for franchises that have established main characters that you love and want to play as. They did it with Mega Man. They make you play as fucking Axel in Mega Man X7, which is one of the worst games ever.
Right.
Fuck Mega Man X7. Mega Man X7 is literally wiped from my memory.
Wiped from the canon.
Yeah, wiped from the canon. And that was all a dream. Yeah, Mega Man X7 was the worst fucking game.
So how has Capcom progressed into the modern day? Like
Here's what happened with Capcom. Long story short, they don't make most of their games anymore. Capcom, much like this is a whole other topic, but much like other Japanese developers have looked at the landscape now. They see what are the best-selling games. Best-selling games every year are Call of Duty, whatever current Call of Duty's out,
right,
and Madden. Right?
Yeah.
And so they look at the sales numbers of Call of Duty, which are staggering. Millions and millions of people.
I might add.
Disgustingly staggering, because people blindly buy Call of Duty because of the brand. Whether they're good titles or not is another discussion.
And the community, because there's that push that nobody's gonna just stay with the old stuff. They have to find out whatever the new thing is. But as soon as they move to the cutting edge, because they're like border pushers, that's online play. So all their friends have to catch up.
Sure.
Like you get an entire, I will argue, at least probably 2/3 of a market that has to keep going on. Whereas most people would be like, all they did was add a dog. I don't think I want this game. But other people will be playing it, so they have to go and play online.
They will pay $60 for that new multiplayer map pack.
Even if the maps are nowhere near as good as a game, say, Modern Warfare 2.
Most people will seriously. If you listen to the chat in Call of Duty, it's people talking about how this isn't as good as Black Ops 2 or whatever one they like. But that's a whole other discussion.
It is.
That's a whole. There's actually this. I don't know if I read it or listened to it, but anyway, they were talking about how Call of Duty players are just that. They're just Call of Duty players. Like if you look at the games they buy every year, they're not even necessarily gamers. They are Call of Duty players. Because you look at their library, it's Call of Duty, and that's it. And maybe Madden, and maybe like whatever big hit, like if there was a Grand Theft Auto that year or something like that.
Sometimes they are Call of Duty, like whatever the franchise. If you look at their shelf, it's 2 games wide because they traded in the last one to try to get to like that. You know, if I could get $20 off the next Call of Duty, but it's nowhere near worth that by the time the next one comes out.
Literally just play
They're
Call
going
of
to give
Duty.
me $5 for it.
Oh yeah, then
I'll take it. And then they're wiping their teeth and trying to get some more Call of Duty out of it. Like, oh man, straight fiends.
Yeah,
I've seen the dregs.
Fiends,
straight fiends. So it's so they don't make their characters or their games anymore.
Capcom still has internal development. They still make their fighting games. They still actually that's not entirely true because they co-create. Like Street Fighter 4 was co-created by Capcom and Dimps. Dimps actually makes the EX series, like Street Fighter EX.
That's a lot of Dimp.
But no, they do have internal development. They made Dragon's Dogma, which I fucking love.
Dragon's Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma was all Capcom. That was actually their most expensive game that they've ever created from a straight up like cost standpoint.
And didn't even have like title characters. It was just like this.
Well, that was their attempt to make a Western RPG almost. Because that game is a mixture of Western and Eastern gameplay.
That's on here for a game on tap because it's far from my favorite game, and it was a little closer to, like, say, the Dark Souls kind of series than I was hoping for. Because I have a thing against those. I just don't like the dark games at all.
Yeah.
But that game did a lot of things right. Dragon's Dogma, that did some cool stuff.
I can tell you, we can have a topic on that too. But I can tell you that
it will be here. So, having made Dragon's Dogma, that's a recent triumph of theirs because that's actually that's 2012. I think they released
2012 it came out, but they released Dark Arisen, which was the expansion / full game. Like it was the full game with the expansion made in. They released that in May of 2013.
2013.
So it's technically a 2013 game.
That's just more stuff though. It's like a re-release plus.
Right. Dark Arisen. It's a lot of content, but it's definitely not the as much as the full game.
Right. Is that their most recent triumph? Would you say that's kind of where they stand?
If you were to ask Capcom, they would tell you that is their last success. But even that didn't sell a lot of copies because
it did seem like a sleeper hit. Well, not a whole lot of people were clamoring for that day one. I was there to sell it, and nobody was coming like, "Oh, I got a Dragon's Dogma." Like 5 people had Dragon's Dogma pre-orders.
It's a new IP. It's untested, but it sold over 1 million copies.
Sure.
And so, worldwide. And so they considered that a success because they didn't expect it to sell that many copies.
Whereas Crystal Dynamics was complaining that they only got
how
many?
Square.
Was it Square? 6 million or however many for Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Remember that? They're just we didn't hit our mark. And it's like, you got 3 million. Like, we wanted 6 million.
That's the problem is that Capcom did the same thing. Like, they looked at Resident Evil 6 and they're like, the sales, while they hit like 5 or 6 million, or like it failed to meet sales expectations.
That's another one of their ongoing series. It's kind of up and down, but I'd say mostly they have a really solid fan base for Resident Evil.
I think that fan base is dwindling.
Probably.
Aaron's in this fan base, right?
I am.
You love Resident Evil, but how do you feel about the current? Like, how did you feel about Resident Evil 6?
It was entertaining.
Okay.
It was not spooky.
It was also slightly Gears of War.
Is that what you were looking for, though? When you play a Resident Evil game, are you looking for horror?
Nowadays,
Not
of
anymore.
course not.
Right.
Like, ever since 4, I don't go in looking for horror. Maybe to be like, oh, fuck, I have to reload and the zombies on my face. But more likely than not, if I look at Resident Evil coming out, I go, I want to go shoot some zombies. And I want to do it with somewhat limited control so that I'm not just whipping around in first person shooting zombies and double jumping off park benches.
Right.
Like you can do in other games. I'm not sure which ones. Gears of double jump.
Yeah.
Like
Gears of
parkour. Yeah.
Titan Persia.
But yeah, I enjoyed Resident Evil 5, and then Resident Evil 6 came out, and I'm like, that looks retarded. And I played it when a buddy rented it on GameFly, and I'm like, I could play this, but I was at a buddy's house, so then when it came around to PC, I bought it, and I played through the campaign with a friend of mine and had a lot of fun with it. But it is what Resident Evil is, but it's not Resident Evil.
So Capcom makes Resident Evil still, but they are outsourcing a lot of their games now. Strider was outsourced. Asura's Wrath, which also came out around Dragon's Dogma.
I should play that. I'm writing an article on that right now.
Asura's
I liked
Wrath,
it.
not made by Capcom.
No.
Made by CyberConnect 2,
But I liked
which
it.
is one of my favorite Japanese companies. If honestly, I love CyberConnect
Sure.
2. But
They make games like Asura's Wrath, and that was
yeah,
cool.
yeah, Asura's Wrath was great. But
Like a rail brawler. Rail shooter / brawler.
it blended some genres pretty good.
It did.
But it's unique and interesting, super over the top. It's just fun. It's a fun game.
It was. It's slightly unclosed. It didn't have very much closure. You had to buy a special ending to get a good ending, and then there's like this opening for another ending, and
That's
there's like
where
a weird DLC. So
that's where the fault comes in, and that's
Right.
where Capcom also is known for kind of mishandling their DLC, or rather their game policies, I guess. Because like Asura's Wrath, in order to get the official like real ending, right, you had to pay for that. It was DLC.
Yeah.
I mean that controversy extended to Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Street Fighter Cross Tekken, people argue that is like straight up half a game without the DLC.
Yeah.
Because there are 12 characters that you have to buy separately.
One at a time?
No, you can
Like
buy them in
twos or-
packs, or you can buy them all together, but it's $20.
it's gonna cost you.
So it's a $60 game, plus $20 for the rest of the characters. Plus, there's all these gem packs and color packs. I mean, if you're really going to get a complete Street Fighter Cross Tekken, you're spending well over $100.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's sneaky.
That's free to play, but you paid for it.
We're talking about that later. In turn-based conversation. I'm gonna snip us on
That's right.
on Capcom. I want a final verdict. Where do they stand now? Did they do like an EKG kind of thing where it was like pop up, pop up, and they had little like points of success and failure, or was it like a dwindling?
No, there's
entropic?
points of success and failure, but their points of success for me are the games that they actually made. The Dragon's Dogmas, the fighting game Division still I think is good, because I think Street Fighter 4 is still a solid game. Marvel's Capcom 3 is a great game.
So facets of Capcom are really stay
when,
strong.
When
and other
they
ones...
make their own game, when they make their own games, I believe that they are still making solid games. But I think that they're outsourcing too much, and because when they outsource, they lose what gave those games their identity. People will argue that. Striders actually seems okay so far. There's some rough edges, but that game's an American developed game through and through. That game's Double Helix.
Do you think
That game's Amazon.
if Capcom wasn't outsourcing these games, do you think they would be able to devote the attention to the games they're making good to still make them good, or do you think they'd spread themselves too thin?
Well, I just don't think they need to release them. So, for instance, Bionic Commando. Did anybody like Bionic Commando or Dark Void? See, the thing is they.
Okay, I liked Dark Void, and I have a thing on this later for one of the top threes. But I liked Dark Void.
That's
I
fair.
hated how it handled.
Yeah. Here's the problem, man. I'm gonna make it short, but the problem is that, and this isn't localized as a Capcom. This is a Japanese mindset right now, and that is they think in order to be successful, they need to make Western games, which in theory makes sense because we talked about this ridiculous success of Call of Duty.
Right.
So they think, let's get some of that Call of Duty money, right? So that means how do we do that? Make a Western style game.
Right.
Make.
But they're coming from an Eastern tradition.
Right. Make Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. That game was made by Slant 6, the people that make SOCOM.
Sure,
Right?
yeah.
And so.
I didn't like either.
That's totally just.
I'm not alone.
But so the problem though is that when their idea is make Western style games for success, but then when they outsource to Western developers, first of all they pick horrible Western developers. Like they chose a company called Grin to make Bionic Commando, and Grin didn't make shit. I mean, they make horrible games. And Double Helix before Killer Instinct, they made Battleship, the game, and they made Green Lantern, the movie, the game, and they made that horrible Silent Hill game on Vita, and they had a horrible track record. So here's an idea: let's give them Strider, right? Like a very cherished character in our history. Let's give it to Double Helix. I don't know. It's almost like they're going for the lowest bid. Like they're saying they like throw a title out to American developers. Like, who wants to make it? You know,
right.
Double Helix raises their hand and like, cool, go for it. it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make a bad game, because like I was saying, Strider so far, I'm only like a couple hours into it, but it seems fun so far. But
Right.
I just think that they need to reclaim their identity by making their own games.
Capcom, yay or nay?
Capcom, when they make their games, yay. When they outsource their games, nay.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
When they outsource their games, maybe. Because they're not all hit or miss. 'Cause,
Right.
I mean, they're not all bad. Because DMC, for instance, they didn't make that game at all. But next on the chopping block, what do we got?
We have a top 3 list today.
Top 3.
And we've chosen top 3 because top 5 is for whiny babies.
Yeah.
We're doing
up your
top
mind.
3 on this. Make up your mind. You got to be definitive. What's your top 3 ones? You love them. This top 3 is actually best beginnings, and that's a bit of a vague segment
Point of
because
contention.
we went into this. Yeah, a point of contention because we went into this with differing definitions of beginning of a game. So I had actually forgotten kind of where everybody went as far as their top 3. I'm actually start off with
Me?
you. Yeah.
Okay.
What are your top 3?
So are we explaining why we think that they're the best? Or
Yeah,
okay.
just brisk little guy. Like, why is that? I want a little bit of justification.
Okay.
Brisk, yeah.
brisk, baby.
Um,
It's over, Rock. I just need something to do. Remember that commercial?
Hell yeah, I remember that
Like
commercial.
claymation.
That's immediately the first one I think of.
It's over, Rock. Here's some drink. His claymation lip was all sideways.
It was great.
4 feet.
It's great.
Poor fucking.
Oh no, that was you. Sorry. Yeah. So we'll
Irene?
get it off with you. We'll
Sure.
start out by how you're defining beginning of a game first, because
what are
each
you-
of us was different.
What are you
Okay.
saying here?
So my best beginnings was stuff like the cinematic or whatever that would play, right after the title screen or right before the title screen, before you actually enter into the game, before you press start. So, and apparently there was even confusion about that with, one of my picks, because one of my picks is Metal Gear Solid, and I
Sure.
was under the impression that that whole intro cinematic where they're in the submarine and he's going into the building or whatever, I thought that was all.
When you push play on the disc or like pop in the cartridge before you ever get to the push start
Press
screen.
play on the
This is
disc.
Discman?
Discman.
Yeah.
Sony Walkman.
One of the
Exactly.
Walkman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you.
Christopher Walkman.
Yeah. So, but apparently we cleared this up. Like, if you don't have any save data on there, then it automatically goes into that. So I guess it technically counts for that.
Sure.
And I picked that. Okay, so when I originally made my list, there were different games on there, and I was basing it on my favorite beginnings.
Yeah.
Which I can rationalize differently than best beginnings.
Yeah. And that's a
So-
safe thing too. We could do that, but you've already got these other ones that you're
Yeah, no, totally. I know.
ready
Yeah.
for. That other one's a good one too. My favorite beginnings.
Yeah, the best beginnings I kind of feel like would be like if we took a consensus that like most people would say, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't argue against that one. So
It's just the best beginning for a game I've seen.
yeah, and I kind of think Metal Gear Solid, because the whole Metal Gear Solid franchise, like the reboot on the PlayStation, it was very cinematic. It was like a video game movie essentially. So I think that they just kind of turned everything upside down anyway. So that intro I think was really memorable for people because it was just so different and it was so cinematic, and you didn't start playing or anything until like 5 or 10 minutes into the actual thing, and then you finally see the title screen after all of that happens.
It's like Lost.
So.
You don't realize that you're just watching action and stuff until like 10 minutes into the first episode, and then somebody says something like, "Nobody's been talking."
Yeah.
There's no gameplay until 5 minutes into this thing.
Yeah. So that's why I picked Metal Gear Solid. I also picked Resident Evil 1 because I think everyone probably remembers how terrible that maybe you don't. I don't know.
Stop! Don't open that door.
No, it's even before that. It's when they do the real live action acting.
yeah.
So you can
Fucking
find
Smoking Chris.
best beginnings as possibly also infamous, like the most infamous
Yeah. Oh yeah.
beginnings.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so.
Terror
For
bad
me,
ones,
it's
like-
best. Yeah, I think
He's
at the
best,
time
bro.
nobody questioned how bad it was because it was like
That was a
the
video
first
game.
of its kind.
It was
Right.
like full motion video.
Yeah.
You had live
Yeah.
actors. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This
Right.
isn't 2D sprites. This is real fucking actors.
The game is real.
So
Yeah,
nobody
hell
was
real.
like criticizing how awful the acting was or
Real as
anything
hell.
like that. So it's hell real.
Real as hell. Straight real.
Yeah. So that's why I picked Resident Evil 1, and of course Final Fantasy 6 because
Yeah.
you just get that nice sort of
Final Fantasy
backstory,
Are you
you know,
talking-
about what's going on.
Are you talking about the mode 7?
get straight mode
Magic
7
Armor
intro.
March?
Yes,
Check.
That's great.
All
With
of
the
that,
music.
everything,
Oh,
yeah, that happens.
Like,
her
that's
The
good.
rolling
walking with the two
information and
guys.
stuff, yeah.
Really did.
With
good job.
it's,
Biggs and Wedge
is
with
it Vix and Wedge or Biggs and
It's
Wedge?
actually
Biggs.
Biggs in
Yeah,
that
it's
one.
based
Isn't
off of Star Wars.
Yeah,
Biggs
but
and
I
Wedge.
thought in the game they changed it to Vix.
it?
Just for that one?
I'm gonna
that's a
look
good
that
question.
up.
Googs that because
I remember
I think
seeing
I've
Vix,
now
and
I've seen
then
both. Yeah, no,
Someone told me
Googs it.
no, it's supposed to be Biggs. And I was
Googs
like,
it.
Googs
Oh no,
where
no,
did I
no!
get
Biggs and
Vix?
Jesse. I think it is Vix and Wedge in 6 because
Six.
Biggs and Jesse are in
Wedge.
Oh, I don't remember that.
7.
There was a Wedge, I think, in 7. He died on the tower.
Oh, you're
Oh,
right.
okay,
yeah,
so
See
yeah.
the fat one.
It was
Probably.
mistranslated as Vix
Right.
for the English translation, but it was supposed to be Vix.
Vapo Rub and Wedge.
Exactly.
Sure.
There you go.
That's totally what happened.
Cheddar Wedge and Vapor Road.
And you're fighting the shoot! I always mess it up. The Welkin.
The Welk at the
Is
beginning.
it just Welk? Yeah,
Yeah,
the snail
one
thing,
that
and
has
don't
the electricity. Yeah.
do not attack it when it's in
Yeah.
its shell
Otherwise, it will fuck your shit.
with lightnings.
You don't want it.
Hell, I mean.
Okay,
That's a good top 3.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
That's
save
good.
you for last because you have to go off the cranium
That's all right.
Off the cuff.
next.
My top 3 had a completely different criteria. I was thinking pretty much for each of the 3. They came to me quick, and I think I used different criteria for each one. Final Fantasy 1, I loved because as a kid, when I started playing that, I was running around like punching goblins with my bare hands because I did not understand how to play an RPG yet. And then finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to town. Wait, they sell weapons? Whoa, this is what I need to do. I need to buy weapons. So I got weapons, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to kick some ass. I went out, punched some goblins some more because I didn't equip anything because I had no idea what I was doing.
This is the best intro or best beginning because this was your learning curve.
This
for
was
video
my learning
games.
curve
Like,
for that. Eventually, you go up into that like dungeon castle thing, and you fight, what was it, Gilgamesh or some evil queen or something. It's been
and not
way too
before
long.
you walk into the witch's
Garland.
cabin
Yeah,
with
Garland,
brooms
that was
walking
it.
around.
Yeah.
So you go up in there, you kill that guy, you're like, heck yeah, I'm so good. I finally beat my first boss. And it's like, by the way, Final Fantasy. And I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, I was playing a game this whole time.
That's what this is.
That's what, okay.
Yeah.
I
Good ass
gotcha.
intro.
Yeah.
I have to like. I like your definition of it because I love when you have this whole like. I don't think they do that in a whole lot of games, and they certainly almost don't do it anymore. When you have this whole little thing where it's just you're off on this tangent, you get into the meat of the game, you're caught up, and then it goes like, like this is our effing game. They like title you.
Yeah, the
Instead of
warriors
just like
standing
a-
up on a hill, and I'm like, that's good spreading.
It almost seems like a footnote when they do it right at the beginning. It's just like, yeah, I know what I'm playing, but it's not very cinematic. It's not very. They didn't present it very theatrically. If it's not,
I
sometime
hate-
in the middle after some
I
gameplay.
hate quiet noises and black screen that just goes like Uncharted and just moves on, or like whatever it would happen to be. I don't even know if Uncharted starts like that. I barely played it. You're like, shh, by the way, and then just keep going while some like song is playing.
I have an
Anyway.
answer to that later, but
Number 2, I said Super Metroid.
You did.
Because I remembered playing Metroid, and that was one of the fucking craziest games that I could have ever beaten as a child. I did not believe myself, but I found the Frost Beam by blowing up some shit and going down where the fake lava was, and I got back up using the Frost Beam, and I went to Mother Brain, and I blew Ice Beam. I'm sorry. I'm a child. Alright, so I kill...
It says Ice Beam, and it has an eye on the item. That
It's
you
been
get.
so long.
You're like, Frost Beam!
Frost Beam.
I completed that game
I know,
again like the other week, and I did not 100% it by any measure.
It's hard to
It is really hard to.
a lot of
You have to shoot every fucking wall ever.
That's
Like,
not
that
even
guy or
an
something.
easy game to play as an adult.
Yeah.
And
that
I am
was-
like an avid, I would say, seasoned gamer, and I am not great at that game at all.
I had
That's
seen
So, as a
my
child-
uncle play through parts of it, and I like just remembered and used parts that I saw him do. I'm like, that's how you get that. That's where you go. That's what you need to do. And so in that, it's almost like looking it up on the internet just because I saw someone else do
They
it,
have the
but
most
there was no
broke
internet
ass
then.
secrets in that too. It's like
Yeah.
over one door somewhere, you go pop, and then like hit, and you're like, oh, I knew there were missiles up there.
Yeah.
Nobody knows there's missiles up there.
So then I beat
always
Mother
one.
Brain, and at the end of the first game, you got to jump out of everything while the planet's exploding or whatever.
Right.
ISR 38.
Save
Oh no,
the
just
carbuncle,
SR
or the
388.
whatever his name
You're
is.
not in SR388. You're
I thought that was SR 388.
SR388's the planet that you're on in the second game. That's
Zebes.
the Metroid's planet.
You're on
Did you-
Zebes,
No, that's a
Zebes,
good
yeah.
question. How do you pronounce the name of the main planet?
That is a good question.
I said Zebes because I never heard it pronounced aloud.
I always said Zebes.
I always just said Zeebs.
Zebes? I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
Zebes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I said
anyway.
Zeebs.
Okay, then it becomes SR388 later. Anyway,
SR388's the second game. The first
I
game
know,
and the
you
third
find the
game-
baby and then you go
You go
on.
from Brinstar to Zebes.
No,
Those are
Zebes
just
is the name of
different
the planet.
Right.
Brinstar is an area on that planet.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought it was that little beginning, the
It's
intro.
like
Oh no, you go
Meridian.
back to that.
The intro area
place,
is
you're right.
is the criteria.
Yeah.
And you move to Brinstar, and then Norfair, and then Wrecked Ship, and then Meridia, and
Right.
then Torian. But Zebes is the planet. Or Zebes.
Yeah. I
Zebes.
wanted to play...
Zebes.
I played a little bit of Metroid 2 on Game Boy. Not as much as I wanted to because my neighbor had it, and then one Christmas he gave me his Game Boy, and that was one game he couldn't find. And I'm like, fuck, damn it.
Why couldn't you?
But
have
thank
Metroid?
you so much because
I'm
I
an
put
ungrateful child.
so many hours on my Game Boy.
Right.
His Game Boy became mine. Anyway, so I went to Super Metroid, and the game starts off with you know, there's a cinematic, Samus is telling about what happened to the baby Metroid you got on the second one. I'm like, I remember some of this stuff. Because, they even made it black and white like the Game Boy. And then you go and you're like, wait a minute, music stops. Scientists, bad shit. And then you go and try to save them, doesn't work, everyone's dead. And then you, same way as like the last one, everything's exploding, you gotta climb out of the place you just came to.
Right.
And then you land on the new planet, and you're like, start over.
I feel like that's a quintessential mechanic for the Metroid games is
Something's
everything's
exploding. You
It's
better
game.
climb. Yeah.
You've got and then
Oh, but it was done so well.
Shit's
Super
exploding. And that was rad.
it seems the pacing of that game they couldn't do anything else because that's how they get from screen to screen. But it's so odd when you're like super run. It's like, oh my god, ding 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 ding. You're like, ding, and it goes. Ding, 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 ding. It just has to like screen shift every time. You're like, this is totally taking me out of this.
And then my last one, for pretty much just knowing this is when the shit gets real, is the entire Knee Deep in Dead act from Doom 1. Because like, demons invade Phobos and Deimos, and you're fighting like hella shit, and you're like, everyone's dead around me. I gotta beat back the demons. And the last level of that, it plays the saddest fucking music ever. And you're like, why? And you will just march out to your death. You beat the big fucking demons that you've never seen before. And you're like, I win. Here's my reward. Go through this teleporter and fucking die.
How'd you even do
You
that?
die.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but I won though. And they're like, they even say on the little screen, like, wait, it can't be like this. I'm dead? No way. And then the next two acts, you are literally in hell. And then you fight your way out like a true badass.
What an intro.
Yeah.
For a game.
Yeah, especially for its time.
And it goes, Act 1.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
you died.
Right.
But that's my 3.
Did you want me to go first? You got him.
Go for it, man. I got him.
You got him?
Yeah.
I'm going to do you then.
Well,
If you got him, I'm putting you on the spot. Let
that's
me
fine.
do it.
We do you.
No.
I'll do me. I got me. I still haven't quite decided. I'm having a hard time, but I'm going to discuss one other game, so I'm going to cheat a little bit.
All right. Ooh.
I do. I have, for first...
Don't have 3.5. You can have 3.5.
Do what you got to do.
This is your mic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, how many here played Last of Us?
I'm playing Last of Us currently because I got the Left Behind DLC.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the intro.
You saw the intro.
Yeah.
Oh, shit intro. So, like, the beginning... That's actually, we're doing... Okay, I don't know how I defined beginning. I think I just meant, like, the beginning section of a game. Not,
Sure.
like, until you hit the middle of the game, but, like, the first, opening 5-10 minutes when you're playing, you're getting used to the stuff.
The
and,
establishing stuff.
when they... Yeah, like an establishing shot in a movie so that you can orient yourself, you know where you are and what's going on. People
That's the
talking to you,
intro.
and then it's kind of...
Pretty much.
It's like
Yeah.
the tutorial. I mean, it's almost like a tutorial mode. Like,
That's the beginning of a
That's
game,
the
correct?
beginning of the game.
So,
That's the intro.
kind of that. So I was kind of stuck between a couple games after that. Well, I'll go to number 2 in a sec. But Last of Us, that is the most, I think, poignant probably, and almost the most punchiest, like most powerful beginning that you ever do. You go through all the... I shouldn't spoil this, should I?
This is the first
It's
20
the
minutes of the game.
beginning.
It is the first 20 minutes
It's the
of the
first
game.
20 minutes of the game.
That's spoiler-free. First 20 minutes of the game. You go through, you're doing all this stuff. I was caught up by how everything looked in the first 20 minutes of the game. Just looking at stuff like you walk down, you're... I forgot
house?
her name. Sarah?
Sarah.
So you're Sarah. You're in the house. You don't know what's going on. You hit that point where you're there's this TV and it says like, oh no, some stuff's happening. You look at the newspaper. The news channel comes on and says like there are whatever things of power plants
Attacks and
having a
stuff.
problem. Yeah, the news
Yeah.
lady's going like explosions at the power plant, and then at your window there's an explosion. You're like, it just kind of puts you in it.
You hear it in the background. Like, the sound in that game is phenomenal.
It is.
If you have surround sound, like, it's just, like, off in the distance. It's great.
And your little rumble thing goes off a little bit
Yeah.
as though your house shook from the proximity, even though it's like a couple miles away. You walk downstairs and you see, like, you walk past your sliding glass door, but you see, like, you're a little opaque, like it would look you in a sliding glass door walking past it, so it kind of gives you that haunting image like something's outside. It's already setting you off, you know? Like, all the tone in that is really crazy. So you go through all that, your dad comes, tries to pick you up, shows you what's going on because the neighbor went crazy. They put you in a car, you don't know what's going on, but you can't do anything but look. You can shift her, like, to the right window, to the left window, like, what's going on, Dad? People are chasing the car. You have to leave the car because things, start T-boning into other things. You have to leave. Gets in a hairy situation. Your daughter gets shot, like, in front of you, and you're just like, no, it's horrible because you think, they're shooting zombies, and you're like, I'm safe. And no, it's like your daughter. And you're just sitting there like, ugh, like you have to... How saves you?
Honestly, I didn't expect that was...
It is. You
Right,
roll a tear worse than Eris.
It's very unexpected, and it was the context for how she was killed, because she wasn't killed by the zombie. She was killed by a soldier who shot her, and it was just very emotional. And
she
the
deserves
fact that
a voice actress of the year. Her little death squeals are heart wrenching.
they managed to make you literally care about that little girl in 20 minutes to the point that you will almost shed. Some people shed tears at that scene.
I'm not too big a man. I cried.
20 minutes into the game.
First time in, I was like, this is hard. This is rough.
20 minutes in the
my
game,
God.
you care.
Yeah.
That's how, like, emotionally...
That's like Up. That's
Up
like
was
just
good, yeah.
that's just like watching Up, man. 5 minutes and you're just like, I can't. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
So-
It's dark.
And so after all that shit happens and you're holding your dead baby girl and you're just like breaking down entirely as a player.
Yeah.
They're relating, like they put you straight inside of Joel in the first 20 minutes of the
They put you
game.
in both too. Like that's
They
why
do.
you empathize so much for the girl, because you're kind of playing her for the part and you see it from her perspective and you see how she's reacting to everything that's going on. So that's why you feel that emotion, when she does eventually.
Even though I have never had a child, my theological dead one is in my hands in the video game, and then just like silent screen, like Last of Us. I was like, fuck this game already.
And
Exactly.
I'll tell you why that scene even has more gravity is because you start playing as Joel after that, and because you went through the death of his daughter, you now understand why he's projecting that onto Ellie,
Right.
Right, and so like you
I never went around the girl, the lady who's in the thing, like he's all acting
Tess.
bitter to Tess, to everybody, and he's all salty and stuff, and like you actually feel the salt.
Yeah.
The rime of salt around his
Totally
heart.
do.
You're just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Can't even fault you, Joel. You're a dick right now, but I feel you.
Yeah,
I'm a
because
dick
you
right now.
went through his traumatic experience with him,
Which is crazy that a video game medium has made you like.
I think The Last of Us was an achievement in that respect.
Sure.
Like making you care about those characters. It's crazy.
I dare say that's the best beginning of all time in my book.
Yeah,
like
that was
fair.
that was one of mine.
not even my favorite. Not even my favorite game, but that beginning did so many things on that, and just done all the things we talked about. Second one I vote was Final Fantasy VII, but I think I was a little confused
You can
by
veto
it because
No,
I might be
go
able to.
for it.
Yeah.
No, dude, that train scene where he fucking jumped off the train. It's
You
pretty
do, and
tight.
there's some good stuff that was like kind of a beginner for its time. It was very cinematic. You have this whole thing where you have the music, the pull down into into Eris, and then like a pull back into the city, so you kind of like it orients you. You know where you are and the kind of the scope of what you're looking at. Like you already know it's in a dystopian future. You're in like a nasty industrial place. They like hop you off into this weird power plant, and then you have to live from there. So you find out it's a biased point of view, but you're in the plight of the working man or the Barry.
You're in
and his
Avalanche.
team. You're in Avalanche at that point, and you have to kind of go through with that. And it's like a whirlwind. They just set you in it, and you're just like, good God, it's game time.
They start you out with fighting. Because real quick, one thing that bothers me about RPGs is when they start the game out
Right.
in like a town, and they're like, hey, go talk to people. You know what I mean? Go spend 45 minutes talking to people.
You aren't gonna like Bravely Default.
You aren't going to like the Lightning Returns.
I might. I like that.
All right.
I like both. I'm fine.
But no, I like that. That's okay.
RPG purist.
It's okay to have that later, but I feel like the first scene, you gotta like hook you in. Like, whoa, that was great. Thank you.
7 did that well, and then like for Midgar taking as much time as it did, and the reprise, you have to go back.
Midgar.
They set that whole place up really well. They give you a sense of kind of scale of the city, like how big it is, how dire the situation is.
How
Like,
shitty that
get,
place is.
Yeah, you get like you actually as a kid, I started thinking about like the political stuff of that. I mean, it can pass you by, but you're just like they're all starved for energy, and everybody up top is cool. F that.
Those are
Like there's
slums.
this giant inequality, like Metropolis kind of feel where everybody up on that upper crust is fine. Everybody down in the slums is. It's like you get a plate that falls on you. Too bad. Nobody cares. Like that's just the.
That's what you get for living in Midgard.
That's what you get for living in Sector 7.
Yeah, get out of
Sorry.
Sector 7. Get out
So-
of the slums.
Just
Eat
do
it.
it.
But you can't.
Go to
That's
Calm.
so- Just go to Calm. Get eaten by a Zolom.
One of those big houses that attacks you for some reason. What the fuck was that enemy? Like the house. It's like, hold on. Then it suddenly explodes out, like, swinging shit
There's a
everywhere.
video of you doing that movement. That was great.
Doesn't it have to? It's on this podcast at some point in time where I have to like find a thing that we can like get some video of some of the things that happen on here and set them on the Facebook page for just for posterity. Like you should be able to see. It's like, look what happened.
This is the
Wiggle
house.
arms. This was the house I was talking about, Pee Wee Herman style.
Final Fantasy 7's a good choice, man.
Final Fantasy 7 was solid, and it was one of the games that kind of shaped me, so I think it was close to the heart. And I didn't want to put Bioshock on there, the Infinite one. This is my half of an explanation. But I don't want to put Bioshock on there, Bioshock Infinite, because it was so recent, even though Last of Us, whatever. I didn't want to have Last of Us and Bioshock, which are two AAA titles from this year.
Yeah, that's
I mean, the beginnings stand for themselves, I guess,
Sure.
but honestly, 7 was good. I think you need like an old one in there. My third pick was Shadow of Colossus, because Shadow of Colossus had a really good... It had like an okay beginning, but I thought what it did was really subversive for your mind. They do this whole thing where it's really boring. You're on a horse, but you see all the landscapes that you will be traversing through the game, and then you get this weird sense of like grandiose... I guess the scope thing again. I think I really have a thing for scope. When you see it at the beginning of the game, you like
good.
hop across these things, these ruins are here, and you're just like... I don't think I like where I am. Like, it's kind of pretty, but I'm very unsettled right now. And then they pull back on this big thing, and you like start hopping on this bridge, and you're like, shit, everything here is huge. Like,
You're talking about before you start the game, you're just watching...
technically, that's before the title runs. That's
Yeah.
the little,
Yeah.
not FMV, but the
No,
little
it's-
cinematic that kind of you're just on your horse, kind of clopping
You
around,
show
and you hit
him-
that bridge, and
It shows Wander or whatever. Not Wander. That's
Did they ever name him?
Yeah,
Name
that's
him,
his
did
name.
His name's Wander, but the girl's name I thought was Wanda. Because one...
I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm
because everything
confusing.
in
I'm sorry.
English has
I'm sorry.
masculine and feminine and neuter. He's a wanderer. She's a
No,
wanda.
that was just a bad translation of the Japanese because they don't have ER, they have A. So it's Wander is Wanda.
Wanda.
But anyway,
Yeah.
no, that opening shows Wander
Wanda.
walking, traveling to that
Wandering.
temple. Yeah, wandering to that temple, right? I mean, they show him go across like
So
those,
apropos.
like the mossy rocks or whatever, and like they show them
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great opening.
They show you the whole. Yeah, they show you the game almost without the colossi.
You get an idea for the environment that you're going to be traversing.
And when you walk through the temple, I'm going to count that as the beginning because just before you fight, you start to run. I think after that, and you find the horse command and stuff like that. But you have to walk through that temple where there are all those statues.
Yeah.
For the colossi, so you technically there's a lot of symbolism going on, representation of the game mechanics and stuff in general in there, and just a lot of good stuff that I think subtly sets you up for the game. So I thought that was good, and I'm gonna Bioshock Infinite was really good. Kind of does that whole there's stuff they can't talk about with with the boat. There's some cyclical things in there, but I gave them to the other three.
Once you know what's going on in Bioshock Infinite, the opening actually becomes pretty significant.
It does, and it's I think it's cool as an opening because it's one of the openings that, unlike I think some of the other games like Final Fantasy VII or Last of Us, it means something new each time you play it. There's new stuff that you find out, so there's you can play through that beginning 4 different times, and that might be 4 different beginnings for you.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Interesting way to do that for a game. I don't know a lot of games that you would restart and have a new game plus that's just a...
Stanley Parable.
That's not at all the same beginning for you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stanley Parable. Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
How about you? I was an airbag.
No.
I was. I rattled on.
I don't think you rattled on. I think you did great.
Rattle on!
Well, you guys took 2 out of my 3. I'll change.
Did we?
Yeah, Last of Us was absolutely in my intro.
How can it not, though?
That
I mean,
intro was
That
unbelievable.
intro.
That intro was unbelievable.
I'll tell you why it wasn't a mine. I don't own a PS3.
Right. I knew that for you, and I felt bad, but I would represent it for you. I represented that.
Last of Us.
That can be yours. Those can overlap.
That
Yeah.
Last of Us intro just blew me away. From after that intro, I could not put that game down. I wanted to see what happened at every turn in that game, and every turn did not disappoint.
That game is a horror game, and it's not my genre at all. That's not my... Well, I mean, it's up there in really good games, but it's not that game that I enjoy to play. It's not the type of game that I enjoy to play. I don't really like playing Resident Evil a lot of time. because it's not my preferred genre. But I went through that whole game, even when it was hard for me. When I was just like, I don't want to play this. I had to. I was compulsed to do it.
Compelled to play.
Compulsed to play that game on further.
You got to see what happens to those characters, you know? Like, they created a dynamic between those two characters that was so interesting and meaningful, and you get so attached that you care about, you get worried about these characters. You're like, oh shit, I don't want these fools to die.
All right. No matter what goes on in the world, like the state of mankind or anything, like, oh, I hope that group is... I want Joel and Ellie alive at the end of this, please. Like,
you don't get that feeling from a lot of games. Like, I finished Skyrim recently, right? Like, I know that game came out, like, what, in 2011 or 2012?
Was it that long ago?
2012? I think it's 2012.
Goodness.
By the way, I played it, like, 2 months ago. I never got around to playing it, and I finally did. I played it.
You just cracked the spine, like, 2 months ago.
Well, Steam spine.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the proverbial spine,
The proverbial
you cracked it.
Steam hit, install.
Right.
But anyway.
You're playing it right. You got it on a computer.
I played it, and I really enjoyed it. I finished it, and I really liked that game. But I'm using that as an example because not only do I not care if anybody dies in that game,
Right.
but I can barely tell you anybody's name in that game.
Or yourself.
Like an NPC's name.
You are Nameless Beefhead.
I can't
Like, who
even...
cares?
That's his name. His nameless beefhead.
I named mine Nameless Beefhead.
I literally can't even think of one person's name in that game. Like, I had a lot of interactions. I did a lot of the side quests, but what I'm saying is they weren't...
Lydia.
You don't get emotional attachment to those characters at all.
I got an emotional attachment to Lydia.
I got an emotional attachment to the stuff I made Lydia carry.
Who's Lydia?
Lydia's your first companion
Who's like
from Whiterun.
In Skyrim?
In Skyrim.
I never had a companion in Skyrim.
From the Jarl of Whiterun, she's the one that goes with you. It's like,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you, for
that's
some
how
reason,
memorable
you,
she.
I will restart the effing game if she dies. I'll
She
be
died.
like, I will go
She
back.
died real quick for me.
I'll go back 20 hours and be like, I forgot to save. Lydia must remain alive, so I will lose progress to
If
go
I
back
can
and get
carry
her.
this stuff on me that I made her carry, I'll deal with it.
I forgot all about that.
If she's just a mule for you, you can go get other companions.
I
and get the
know,
mule
and I
for
will
you.
when she dies.
Okay, so no
I was-
emotional attachment.
Not to her,
Sure.
no.
Okay.
There's some
To
characters
her
I'd be
carrying
like,
capacity.
wow, this
Sure.
character's pretty cool. Like, I meet them in a tavern, they're like, I could be your sellsword for 100 gold or some nonsense. They'll be like, sure, I don't want to carry this.
I got a Lydia for free.
I didn't mess with the companions a whole lot. But anyway, the point is I didn't get attached to the characters.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the game. I thought the game was great. I did enjoy it.
That's just not one of its strong points at all.
Not one of its strong points, but no, emotional attachment. Last of Us, major strong point.
Goodness,
That intro,
yes.
crazy. The other one you guys took from me already was Super Metroid. But here's the reason,
I
though.
thought
Like,
you were going to take that too. But
I saw that on his. I was like, I have room to pick something else.
Yeah.
so Super Metroid for me.
See if you had looked ahead of time.
I know it was. I got it. I can change it. I can.
You're doing that right
you
now.
can spin this, yeah.
All right.
You changed it in this
Super
moment.
Metroid. Okay, here I'll talk about this one then. Final Fantasy VIII.
Sure.
Here's the reason why. That opening cinematic
That was
of Final Fantasy
cinematic.
VIII in 1999
Oh my god, yeah.
blew my mind. That
Like,
Cypher Squall sword
that was
fight,
hecka
the
cinematic.
feathers
Hecka.
like flying
Hecka.
everywhere.
The sword fightingest intro cinematic ever.
The most
Hecatite.
sword fightingest, feather flinging sword fighting.
Face
intro ever.
scarring.
Yeah,
Face, yeah.
I watched that and I'm like, wait, he's got the scar now. He knows that dude. How the fuck did they just like fight and then call it a day?
Those are the thinnest ass scars. Like, you didn't like wedge in your best friend's face. It was just like, and he's like, that's gonna heal. Not very well.
So
gonna
like
heal.
that intro, when you press start, it starts with the beach, right? And it has like that.
Orchestral.
Zell making a fool out of himself and trying to jam hot dogs down his throat. I think that's at the end, actually.
Oh no, just that's at the end. That's during the credits.
Right.
Spoiler.
Awkward.
You guys,
Zell eats hot dogs. in the credits.
dogs.
you're gonna want that spoiler.
He likes hot dogs. Another spoiler in the game.
Right.
But hey, you can't blame hot
Plot
dogs.
points.
Pretty good.
Nitrates.
Nitrates. The intro to that, there's just that opening scene. I actually, as a teenager, how old was I? I was like 16 when that game came out, and I took that game and recorded that intro on a VHS tape so I could watch it.
On a VHS.
You're
Wow.
on a VHS tape, you're a good
I
man.
think Brian did that.
Really?
Yeah.
I recorded videos from that game. I also recorded the.
Actually, my stepbrother Joe did that, I'm pretty sure.
I also recorded
I know some people
the
did
dance scene. I recorded that. I recorded the scene at the end of the first disc when like Squall jumps out that thing and slices like to like divide the crowd. That was awesome. You remember that? And then he gets fucking wrecked by those ice shots from
Straight
Eddie.
Solomon from the Bible. I will split these people in twain.
Well,
If it
he
means me
needs
not
to
getting-
land. There's people. He jumps off this ledge
Right.
and uses his sword. So he doesn't hit anybody. He just slices down, like Bravers it, you know,
Right.
and like he doesn't hit anybody, but everybody
Straight Link
moves.
from Smash Brothers.
Yeah, and then he moves, and everybody, and then he continues on. But anyway, the intro to Final Fantasy VIII.
With
Top 3 for me.
I want you guys to know, with your Final Fantasy VIII, we
Yeah.
have put 4 Final Fantasies on this top 3
there's
list.
Did
they
we
got
each put a Final Fantasy?
I put 1.
1,
Six,
6,
seven.
7.
8.
That's right.
Dude, they got good. They got good. Openings.
That's pattern. Final Fantasy produces pretty decent openings.
They do.
But 6 is the best.
Intro to games. Well, I'm actually going to give that one to you. I think 6 had a pretty solid intro.
Yeah.
I also like
intro
7
is the
a lot.
best. 6th intro is pretty good.
We're not even going to do a final top 3. I don't think we're going to be too divided.
Nah.
On this. We just got to give your personal one.
All right, so
Personal.
the other my
Put you
last
third, yeah.
my last one
last
is
but not least.
last but not least is the NES version of Ninja Gaiden. I talked to you guys about this.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
But the opening
Ninja Gaiden's dad.
the opening to Ninja Gaiden shows Ninja Gaiden's dad,
Sure.
Ninja Gaiden being the protagonist
You're the best
of
dude.
this game.
Right.
His name's Ninja Gaiden.
The main
What
character.
do you call the characters of Contra?
Contra.
Exactly.
Contra and Blue Red
What do you
Contra,
call the
Blue
main
Contra?
Contra
Red
1 and
Contra
2.
and Blue Contra.
Yeah, Red
I'm gonna be
Contra.
Blue Contra. I'm gonna be Kung Fu.
No, dude, you're Red
In Kung
Contra.
Fu.
You watch your guy. You fell off, jerk.
What do you call the main character of Kung Fu? His
Metal-
name's Kung Fu. goddamn.
Metal
His name's
Slug.
not
Boy
Thomas.
Metal Slug and Girl Metal Slug.
Did they ever say Lance and Bill in the actual game in Contra?
They say it in the
Because
instruction
everybody knows
book.
that's the name.
That's
It's
extended
in the
universe.
book. Okay. Yeah.
It's extended
Fuck, I didn't
universe.
know
Was it in
that.
the
Universe.
actual game?
I think it was in the
then
arcade
it's fair.
actually. I think in the arcade version it says Lance and Bill.
But they say Ryu in Ninja Gaiden.
Oh,
Do they?
They totally
yeah.
do.
Yeah, like
Oh, they totally
many
do.
times.
I'm going to square with you.
He's
That's
talking
not
to
a
Irene.
joke.
That
I
doesn't make his
seriously,
name.
me and a whole bunch of people called that guy Ninja Gaiden when I was a kid.
That's his name.
I'm just saying.
So many people I knew said Gaiden. And I'm like,
Gaiden.
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden. Americans have this thing about making that A
Right.
like elongated. You know, like they call a lot of people call him Mario.
That's weird.
You've never heard Mario?
I know I've heard it, but it's
never
weird.
heard Mario
I
in
always
my
heard
life.
Mario. Mario.
I think
I'm here to
that's
tell you
a
that's
East
weird.
Coast thing.
Damn
like
East
New
Coasters.
York.
You play
Drinking their
Mario
pop and playing that
Brothers.
Mario on the
And
Nintendo
yeah, it was
system.
the movie too. Like you call him Mario.
Oh, Bob Hoskins
Yeah.
and fucking John
John
Leguizamo
Leguizamo.
singing
Right.
So it was like,
Mario
hey, Mario.
all day in that movie. Not that
Well, expect it from Leguizamo.
Mario.
Hey, come on, Mario, where we going? But Hoskins, why? Hoskins not a... Well, maybe he's an East
I
Coast
don't know,
joke.
man.
Yeah, he's British.
Hoskins.
Or
Yeah,
like
maybe.
from New Zealand or something.
Is he? Oh, no, he's a Brit.
He's British from New
British.
Zealand.
British from New Zealand.
All
I'm
right.
gonna look.
Brit Zealand.
But anyway,
He's a Kiwi.
So good.
yeah, Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden's
Snake
opening
and
was
apple
fantastic.
food.
For the year that it came out, I want to say it was 88, 87 possibly.
Sure.
One of the most, possibly the most cinematic opening of its time. Letterbox, ninjas running at each other. They do that awesome, like...
Ninja trajectory.
That ninja jump into the moonlight. They
Sky
slash,
Clash.
they land. You don't know what's going on. And then Ninja Gaiden's dad keels over and you're like, oh, hell no. And now you got your motivation. Motivation.
Ninja Gaiden's dad, no!
It was great. Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3 also had great cinematics. That game was, all those games were super cinematic because they had cutscenes. Dude, games didn't do that.
You're saying they're super cinematic, but each one of them had the same intro? Like
They didn't have the same intro.
No.
No, but each game
It
did
just
have...
captivates you every time. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like new.
Each game had a very cinematic intro, and each game really was pushing the boundaries for like what an intro or what like the cinematic possibilities were on a Nintendo, because the art that they used for Ninja Gaiden and Irene and his dad like were really vibrant and big and detailed, like, and they looked great. They looked
Fucking
fantastic.
Jackwell looked like...
Jackwell.
Ja- he looked like
Jackwell.
some crazy, like, ridiculous, like, tumor. I didn't know what I was...
Jackwell was a good boss, man.
Jack
He was
Woe
a
the
hard as
Clown.
fuck
He
boss.
was hard as fucking hell.
Yes,
Fuck
those
Jackwell.
games were hard.
Dang.
Fuck Ashtar too from Ninja Gaiden 2. Also super hard. And that jetpack boss motherfucker. If you get past the jetpack boss, you've conquered that game.
I'm gonna lay it down right now too. The Ninja Gaiden for Xbox
Yeah.
360.
Also hard.
Or I guess Xbox original.
Original. Goddamn naming can.
The fucking guy at the beginning, like Nunchucks McGee. I didn't. Okay, so maybe I didn't understand
That's
block
the
or
first
whatever like
boss.
that. I know, but he's still a son of a bitch because like he worked me over a good 16 times before I came
Okay,
through,
but
and
when
was
you
just like,
beat him,
yeah.
but when you beat him, you were a better Ninja Gaiden player.
Oh yeah, and did I feel like a badass? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Goodness, yeah. I was just like, I just beat Nunchucks McGee. Why didn't I steal his nunchucks? And I was pretty pissed off that I wasn't all powerful as nunchucks after that.
The point of that boss, the point of that game in general, is to make you need to get you as a player need to get better.
Right.
The character doesn't need to get better. You need to get better because you can block or dodge everything, but you didn't because you're not good enough.
That
So,
game is a
get
didactic
better.
device.
It
Try to
is.
teach you about video
You've got
gaming.
to train hard.
Those are the type
School
of
of
action
fucking
games.
Ninja Knox.
Those are the type of action games that I love the most, like your Devil May Cry's and your Ninja Gaidens and your Zone of the Enders, where you can dodge.
I believe you mean Zone of the Blenders.
Zone of Pretenders.
Zone of,
Zone of the
Zone of the Benders. Zone of Suspenders.
Scone of
Oh my God.
contenders. So
Anyways.
if you
days.
your character should be able to react to you as a player. So if you're good enough, you're a badass, and I like that. And
What about if your B button doesn't work?
dude? You need to adapt.
Right?
Adapt.
Yeah.
Adapt $60 cash, get a new controller.
Stop being a if that's the solution,
Right.
stop being a bitch. Just get it done.
Whine to your parents, stop being a bitch.
Good job. You're 6. Most moms.
6-year-olds.
I was
playing
6 when
fucking
Ninja
The
Gaiden came
Xbox
out.
original.
Yeah.
It's 2002. How old were you in 2002? I was 19.
Must have been 18.
Yeah, shit.
Should we pop off, not do the game on tap, I think, this week. I think we just might go straight into a main event because we got to talk about this for a little bit. Into the realm of free-to-play games. MOBA games. And freaking, I would say, like they're doing more and more, I guess not really card battle games because Hearthstone, but they're doing kind of that kind of style where things are free-to-play, just getting straight into it, and they'll charge you for whatever.
MMOs are big free-to-play games.
They
these
have
days.
started an MMO,
There's
like
a lot of free
the
games.
the
There's a lot
Star
of-
Wars one they released,
Old
and they're like,
Republic.
pay for this shit, and then almost immediately they're just like, well, you don't have to pay for it anymore.
Well, they
You
were
can
like-
subscribe, but
They don't like a fully. I'm currently playing Old Republic. Actually, I just started that.
faux freezy, right?
No, well, yes.
You subscribed, but
I
you didn't
ended up-
have to.
I ended up subscribing. Now, that's an interesting. We might be jumping ahead a little bit, but that's an interesting case for the free-to-play model because the Old Republic is completely free to download and to make an account, make a character, and start playing.
Sure.
But that game constantly is bombarding you with.
Is it roadblocks?
Well, no, not Roblox,
I
but
heard you couldn't do like a mailbag system until
they
you
just
subscribe.
limit you, and they frequently
Oh.
tell you, hey, if you were subscribing, you'd get this shit way faster. So, like, there's a sprint ability. There's, and later on, after you pass level 20, there's an experience deficit.
Oh, I heard about that too. Somebody was really angry about that.
There is, but here's the thing. Every time you make a quest, every time you complete a quest in Old Republic, you get quest rewards. You get money, you get experience, you get items. Now, in that game, though, there is always 2 rows of items. There's items that you can pick because you're a free-to-play player, and there's items you can pick if you were a subscriber.
Back
And
of the bus, free to play.
Yeah, those are always there, and they're always... Like, you can hover your mouse over them and see the items, but there's always a thing that says, if you're a subscriber, you can get this dope shit. But you can't. I mean, you're not, so you get this bullshit.
It's just line items that says dope shit. And you're like, man, I'm not a subscriber though.
Dope shit
And I
and dank
didn't-
nubs and
420 plays it.
I had a lot of fun playing that game because the way I play MMOs is I largely play them solo. And that game feels like a single-player game. I really enjoy the narrative of that game. It's the first MMO where I care about the storyline. I care about what's going on because most MMOs you just go from quest giver to quest giver, next. Who do I got to kill? Then that's all you do. But this game, I really care. Every cutscene is fully voiced over. It's like Mass Effect in the sense that you have options to respond, and it does affect your alignment as far as dark or light side, and that affects what skills and weapons you can use. So like it really feels like a single player game, and I really enjoy that.
So I would say free to play has now acted not as so much as like a. Well, I'm just going to accuse it of being a net. Like, of course, it's kind of benevolent for them to go like, it's free to play, and it's really genius in a marketing strategy to go like, well, guess what? You can play this game for free, and it then makes sense that if you like that game, that you not just take advantage of their free system, that you end up kind of paying into it at some point in time.
Well, they try to find a balance of like giving you enough free content to want to make you keep playing, but entice you enough to spend a few dollars here and there. I feel like Old Republic does it too far, where they really punish you for not subscribing. But there's a lot of games like League of Legends and Dota and the MOBA genre where it's free fully, but you can optionally spend money, but you never really have to, right?
That one's out of convenience. You can purchase boosters, you could purchase skins, so everything except for boosters and skins are
Well, in League, there's also all the champions. You only have like a pool of 10 characters to play as every week.
You can get those.
You can buy them with points, but to buy all of them, you'd have to play thousands of hours, hundreds.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's the point. That's the point of the game. It's playing the game. So the more you play the game, like
how much is if you were to buy a character? Just out of curiosity,
a character varies.
$6,300 for a new character.
About money,
So
money wise. It comes because they've got every free-to-play game will have like you buy this much, you get this much. You're gonna have change. It's gonna cost you about $7 for a new champion, per champion.
That's kind of pricey.
It is a bit. Because there's a new champion seemingly about every week.
They've changed. They've toned back a lot. They do almost like once a month now.
That's good.
They've gone back a lot, but still the game has like 106 champions now.
I stopped playing for like 2 or 3.
There's ones that are still really cheap. You can buy no problem with the in-game cash, but like, ugh. And then it costs so much if you want everything. Fortunately, not all the characters interest me.
Right.
Dota, you just get all the characters, and they're still releasing more. But Dota is not my game. It's too slow and too much micromanagement. League is a lot more casual, but they both are full of assholes. That's the MOBAs.
Dota
MOBAs
2
make people mean.
Free to play?
I found that.
Dota 2 is free to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't start that way. It was a closed beta, and then you could pay money to opt into the beta, and I thought that was retarded. And then it came out free proper. You can just download and play it whenever you want to. It's just
Dota offers you keys that you can buy. Like you'll get chests that you can't open.
Of the Dota stuff is cosmetics. Team Fortress 2 did that when it went free to play. Like they have chests and you have to buy a key to open it, and you can still find like random items in your random loot that you get so many per week. But
you get drops, right?
Yeah, some of your drops can be chests, so it's just like a fuck you if you don't want to buy a box key. Dota will do a similar thing after playing a match, which will take somewhere between like 30-45 minutes of your life. You might get a thing, and when you get that thing, it is more likely than not a box you need to buy a key to open.
Right.
And all of that's cosmetic. People will buy stuff for Dota for stupid amounts of money.
Oh yeah, some of that stuff is sold for thousands of dollars. Right?
No.
I think I want to say something sold for like, I don't know. Don't quote me on it. But I want to say I heard someone bought something for like $3,000 or $4,000.
Leave this room.
That's crazy.
That's insanity.
I personally
get the hell out of town.
I personally have seen listings.
Out the door.
Personally, have seen listings from anywhere from 17 cents to like $120.
That's crazy.
And you don't put it up for that much if people don't buy it. I assume. Like I know a guy who sold something for like $45 on the Dota market. It was like a dumb sword or something for some character. He didn't care. He sold it. He got the money. He bought a Steam game because it goes into your wallet.
Even Warcraft now is free to play to a point, right? Up to level 20.
Yeah. You're not allowed to do up to level 20.
Yeah, and you're very restricted, right? You can't really like communicate with people in the same way.
Yeah, that's to keep.
You can't necessarily
use
general chat.
That's security to prevent gold farmer. Like
you can't send mail to people. You can respond to tells, but you can't send an initial one.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind how many legitimate accounts are owned by gold farming because I think like in like the most horrible like way I'm like generally you think of Chinese sweatshop kind of stuff, they're like being paid dick. Are these like the ritzy high rolling jobs is gold farming over there? Because the price for how much man hours you put into like getting all the gold for like this fictional economy,
well, you think they've got to see trading it if they do it.
That's got to be, but like even the $15 a month and buying an account and making it to the point where you can get all that. If your account gets banned, they got to buy a new one. How do you keep enough money?
I'll tell you how they keep those people playing that game
always
20 hours a day. You know,
and they cycle people on the accounts too, so there's probably someone playing 24 hours a day.
That character is probably online 24 hours a day. Plus, they have botting programs. I'm sure that just have them.
Who's buying all this gold?
Vault filled with gold coins. Blizzard has a vault filled with gold vaults filled with gold coins that they dive in and laugh every day of their lives.
If you were to, we sat down and calculated how much money, they're making.
You can't. They don't. That's not a number yet.
They haven't invented it yet. It's just off subscriptions from WoW, not counting Diablo, not counting not counting StarCraft. Just WoW subscribers.
Not even like when you have to pay for switching accounts or whatever.
No, just
no premium services.
$15 a month. $15 a month. At one point, they had like 12 million players. Right now, it's more like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But at one point, they were making 12 million players pay $15 a month. Are you kidding me?
That's like 90 million
a month.
Wow,
That's just going straight up into their account for a game that they made in 2005, right?
Yeah.
Laughing in their vault of vaults.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy.
Yeah,
It is
180 million.
So
$180 million
a month.
Yeah.
And that's not including other shit that they have going on.
It's not like that thing that Bill Gates makes so much per second that if he dropped like $100 or $1,000 bill, then it wouldn't be worth his time to reach down and get it back up. He's making too much. I think they did some math on that. He was making it after that. Like, it would be worth more of his time to keep walking to make more progress than bend down to get his.
Follow Bill Gates.
Right.
That's my job.
Oops.
That's my aspiration.
I'm sure he carries that in bills. In paper money.
Yeah, he just carries his wealth around in paper
All of it.
rolls that fly in the wind.
Along with mosquitoes.
Flourishing it out, yeah.
Yeah, so free-to-play games, a lot of them, like League of Legends and Warframe is another good
That's one
one.
that you're
They're
playing.
fun games you can play by yourself or with people.
That you don't necessarily have to
Tons
pay
of
for.
fun, and you can acquire everything except skins in League. And some of the cosmetic items in Warframe. Some of them.
I kind of like that, the vanity system, where it's like, you can play our complete game for free. We'll make it easier for you if you pay, and we'll make it a little prettier for you if you pay. But
Well, they're spending a lot
That feels
of...
less scammy for me.
Does
Yeah,
it?
buying some of the
It
stuff in those
does,
games is
yeah.
outrageously expensive.
well, yeah, it is. I mean, when they actually do decide to mark you, it's like, you want a skin? Skin's like as much as a character.
Yeah,
Skins could be expensive.
Yeah.
that's like $7.
It
Anywhere
is.
from $5 to about $20.
Okay,
for
Actually, a lot of
skin
them
in
are
League.
more than character.
Yeah,
things like
they did a
$6,300 for a
repricing.
character. If you have like legendary skin, you're paying $20-$25 for a legendary skin.
That can get pricey. But with free-to-play games, I mean, the thing is, you're not... The cost of entry is 0, right?
Right.
So like, and in most games never require you to spend money. Like League never requires you to spend money ever.
But what's the cost of addiction?
Well, that's the thing is they want you to, they want to entice you, but I don't feel like it's a scam because you never have to pay any money. And here's the other thing too. A game like Warframe, for instance, graphically looks fantastic. That game's literally a PS4 title, and it costs nothing to download the game and to play with friends and have a good time. So if you were to drop, like, what's something cost randomly in Warframe? We're talking like $2-3, something like that.
More actually. If you want like a helmet mod, it's like about $5.
Okay.
And if you want a suit, it varies from about $5 to about $20.
Do you need that stuff?
No.
Okay, so a game that you paid nothing for, a PS4 level quality game that you can play co-op with friends, you never have to spend any money on. So it's a great system, right? I mean, for people, because you would never try a lot of these games without the free-to-play model because you wouldn't want to spend $60 on a game that you've never heard of and that you're not sure if you'd like. But with the free-to-play model, there's no risk. You know what I mean?
Right.
There is no risk. The only risk is, I guess, getting addicted and. But
Spending
I mean,
a
that's
bunch of
just
money.
right. Spending a bunch of money.
I know a
mean,
guy.
You can't blame.
$250 he has spent on Warframe. We no longer play Warframe.
Who is this?
That is a guy I know who actually doesn't live far from me. He goes to Davis, I think, for college.
That's crazy.
It
longer-
is unfortunate. We don't play Warframe. We haven't played it in like 2 weeks, maybe more.
I was thinking, like, we haven't played it in months.
Well,
I thought you meant like in a more permanent sense, like,
for a
like we
while?
no longer play Warframe. He is off somewhere crying alone, like
Playing his
Warframe, and like you've moved on with your life.
periodically we would log in daily because Warframe would give you a daily login reward, and
course.
the more consecutive times there's like 1 day, 3 day, and 7 days in a row that will give you a better one. And once you get to 7 days, if you keep logging in, you have the chance for the better rewards. And some of that can be like the blueprint that you still need to find the stuff for to build something. Some of that can be purchased in the shop for in-game money. Some of it cannot be purchased. So there's that. Sometimes they give you just an item that's rare and you can't find it without like a bunch of work. Sometimes they give you complete bullshit and you feel like you wasted the day.
I feel like there's somebody in an office somewhere, like, they all work for Blizzard somewhere, and they have, like, a France office, and they're just like, so we paid, like, $1.5 million to fund this game. Like, we made this game. How much are we charging for it? And he's like, oh, that's one of the free-to-plays. And he's like, are you serious? You're going free-to-play? Oh, yeah, is it releasing in America? Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get our money.
One of the things I was thinking about with the free-to-play model is when a game decides to release as a free-to-play, that is a huge gamble. Because, like you were saying, it's not a gamble for the person to go give it a shot. Like, they might hate it, and then they leave. And if enough people do that, you've spent $1 million on this game, you're not getting back.
The company that tanks, yeah. So.
But I think, like, when a game comes out at a cost, like Old Republic did and stuff, to go, and like Terra as the US release, when it goes to free-to-play, I think maybe that's like admitting defeat. When they're just like, well, it didn't work, but we still have something.
Feels like it, but I think they're also it's like a ploy to be like, okay, so if we go free to play, that's going to be the new model that everybody's latching onto. So when you do free to play, it'll be like, well, that'll invite subscribers to do this, and then we'll just charge, kind of for like, what can we charge for? And then they'll do like, oh, this is the skin that makes your boobies pushed up a little bit, and then you're just like, okay,
they make their money back.
Get a Christmas hat.
It's been proven that these games that switch to free-to-play models like Terra, Lineage 2, Ion, Old Republic, Rift is another great example, EverQuest 2. But I'm just saying, like, as far as success, so they Old Republic, for instance, their profit increased after the free-to-play. Terra, same thing. Terra, like, tripled its population after it went free to play.
A lot of horny teens.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Terra, beyond the crazy nudity, I think Terra's a great MMO.
It's fun as hell.
Yeah, I think Terra, as far as
what you got,
that's great. Yeah, what's up,
Aaron? No, that's me. I think free to play is kind of a tricky term. Like, it's free to play technically, but it's not free to really experience the game. And I think that there's this whole conspicuous consumption culture that goes into free-to-play where, like, if you really want to be the shit in the game, you got to spend money.
If you want to be Ash Ketchum.
Even if you can technically access all aspects of the game, you're never going to experience it in the same way that someone who's paying for stuff in the game is going to experience it. And that, in and of itself, kind of makes it like a shitty experience, and it's not.
I will argue for League of Legends on that because I mean that's the only game that I've seen I think that defies that model. That goes, you can play this entire. The only thing you're going to lose out on the people who are paying money for it is that you won't get there as quickly.
Okay.
So you might be a little stymied at some points. Like it's taking forever to level. Whereas somebody who's just got money to burn, like disposable income, will go like, I'll just get a booster. I'll get a level within 2 hours as opposed to like 8 hours. So.
And I think
that's
kind of thing. Also another aspect to consider for that is that there are a lot of people that just have money they desperately want to spend on a game. Right. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many of my friends, and even in WoW, even when it was subscription,
right.
I mean, it still is subscription, but like they were paying for like the character transfers and name changes and shit like that, and they're just like, we don't care, it's just blah blah blah. And it's like, god damn, are you guys like fucking rich or something?
Well, on the subscription thing too, they're just like, I'll burn $15 a month or whatever like that, and they play 3-4 days out of the month.
Know, like, exactly, and they know they're going to be playing for like a year or 2 years, and they still do the $15 a month thing
instead of like the yearly.
Yeah, so they can cancel in time when they know they're not going to cancel,
right.
So I just, for me, like, I can't do that. I am such a cheap person. It's just like,
well, you must be a little bit Scottish, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's gotta be in there. I previously had my doubts, but you're a bit Scottish.
Yeah.
I have kind of a rule when it comes to, like, what I pay for a game. If I buy a game on sale and I play it for about $1 per hour, if I look at my Steam things and I'm like, I played this for 6 hours and it cost $6. Okay.
You're fine.
My time's not worth so much that I can't pay $1 per hour. If I'm playing the shit out of a free-to-play game, sometimes I will just, as a note, throw in $20 and see what that gets me. Because I'm like, it's like I bought a $20 game. I'm playing the hell out of this. There's $20.
It's like my $10 game for Steam. If it's $10 or under and I'm pretty curious about it, I'll have to get it because I'm compelled to get it underneath $10. But I've recently changed that because we're like hella po folk now. So it's like my $3.39.
$3.39 is your threshold?
Yeah.
$340, can't do it.
When it goes on that, it's
$338.
like, yeah.
Wait till it goes on
Grand.
sale.
They
goes
do
on
that
sale.
weird like 10. It's like $9.99 for this game. And they go like 66% off this week, and it's like your three.
$3.33.
Yeah, so it's a little thing. I'm just like,
Dude, $3, that's less than a fucking coffee at Starbucks, man.
right?
For
I don't
a
drink
video
coffee
game.
at Starbucks.
I was thinking that sometimes I'll be like, well, it's been a long week. I just won't eat lunch Thursday.
Yeah.
So
But
I'll
see,
buy
that's the
this.
thing,
But I might
though,
play
like,
this forever.
You rationalize spending the money, whereas like for me, I can't not think of it as just nickel and diming, scheming to get my money. I can't consciously say, I'm going to give you money for this thing in this game, which is dumb because I'd be willing to pay like this
$60 to
big
get it or
sum.
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I know I'm getting the full game. They're not scamming me out of anything. Whereas this, they can continue to do for as long as the game is running.
That's true.
They'll keep releasing
Yeah.
little things. Like,
Exactly.
here's another new helmet and another
Yeah,
new
and
gun.
that,
You
like-
want to build it, find all the stuff. Or you could buy it right now for $5.
They have that
Yeah.
stupid thing where it's like, well, it's not stupid, it's brilliant. That promotional thing for it's like, oh, it's Halloween. Don't you want this ghoul-shaped thing with like a bat wings off of
Yeah.
your helmet
That's
thing? You know you
exactly-
want to
that's
wear
the
it, and
thing.
you have to
Yeah.
freaking like, it's like,
Dumb
it's
spooky
only $3.
It'll be
That's
gone
not
in
much."
a
And then you're like,
rationalize
but
it,
they
yeah.
have a fucking like a tie that matches on a jacket, and
Yeah.
it all looks like, it makes me look like Jack Skellington.
So it's like,
and
I know I
like
didn't
it.
pay the sub price for WoW, but shit, I just spent $15 anyway.
As soon as
they
October
found
is-
another way to get that $15 out of me anyway.
As soon as
See, I'm not
October's
really
over,
really like
you
that
scrap
stuff.
that outfit.
The person, I
That's
look
what
at
I'm
that.
saying.
I look at that like a positive, because okay, Aaron, they made a point like you get a lot of these games, for instance, League of Legends or like a free MMO. I'm really into a free MMO called Neverwinter right now. You've probably seen me playing. I've been playing the shit out of Neverwinter. Neverwinter is free, and I'm really enjoying it. But I like the model that it presents because I enjoy the game so much. I've put in like 80 hours in that game in the past like 2 weeks, and for me that's a lot because I work 50 fucking hours a week, and
Hey, let's keep the personal life out of this.
I'm just saying, like, that's
Keep
a lot of
it
time
to
for me to
yourself,
put into the
but-
game. I'm just got kind of hooked on it, but I almost want to spend money on it.
Wait, that's just
That's
called
exactly
Neverwinter?
what I mean.
Yeah.
Though.
but I feel like they deserve it. Like, I'm looking at it, not saying like I want to do it because I need to excel in the game, because I'm excelling in the game. The game's pace is one of my favorite things about it, because it's
So you want to support the company that
Just
made
like
that
a
game
little,
at that
little
point.
bravo, like your little applause.
exactly.
You just
I'm
toss
like,
some money
thanks
at
for
them.
making a fun game. I'll buy your little $5 item pack or something.
Okay,
And
so
they
ideally,
rely on
that's what it is.
They
too. It's like if they
rely
made
on
a
it.
game and then they made it for you free, and then you play like a shit ton of it. You pay 60 hours of it, and you're like, "Well, I didn't pay a cent for this
I
game.
have paid.
Like, I should."
I have paid $8 in Neverwinter, and I've put in well over 100 hours of gameplay in that
Sure,
game.
and
pretty
that's I'm not knocking that at all. I don't care what the fuck people do with their money. It's their own fucking money. What I'm saying is that really a free to play experience? So if at some
So
point
you're
you
arguing
feel
the term?
compelled, yeah, I'm arguing definitely the terms.
Okay.
Like if
What
you
would you
feel
call it?
compelled, I don't know. I don't know. Not
Cheap to
free to
play?
play.
Pay as you will.
Pay as you want. Pay if you want.
Potentially free to play.
Optional pay system.
Cost optional gaming.
What about potential to pay?
Potential to pay.
Nepacheg.
Impossible to be free to play, or difficult to be free to
It's
play.
not
I don't
impossible,
know.
yeah.
Not impossible.
You can definitely.
Difficult.
I got a friend.
I feel like.
who his policy is literally he will only play a free to play game. He's not.
Yeah, no, I'm
in-
the same way too.
into-
I cannot justify spending even like $3.
But he won't even justify throwing in $1, even if that dollar was like you will never die in this game.
You
Pay
now own
$1.
this game.
Pay $1 and you win everything.
What if it was
all the time.
like-
he will not pay?
Is it
Like,
on
fuck that.
principle, or is it just he's poor,
It's,
or like?
I think it's on principle. He's like, I'm not paying for anything.
It's gotta
I'm
be principle.
out
It's a
of-
dollar.
Yeah, he's like, I've paid my dues to video
Right.
games.
Have you seen the
can
value
go
of the
to
dollar?
court
Yeah,
and, like, they know the psychology of a
Oh, they absolutely
free to play gamer.
They-
So what
yeah.
I'm saying is that
They built their
I
genre on
think
it.
people are like thinking like, oh, they spent all this time putting in. I feel compelled. I feel guilty. I feel like I'm obligated to give them money, which is fine, whatever. But
Yeah.
they're counting on that. That's part of why it's not entirely free to play, because they know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to do that. And then they're also throwing in all this really enticing stuff that is very hard to resist.
So it's the assumed backstory, the assumed mindset of the company when they make that game going like, these people will pay for my game. You're like, well, I don't like that. That's no longer free to play. That's a bad attitude.
Well, they're finding a different way to get people to buy their game. They're not saying, here's our game for $60. They're saying, here's the game for free. Hopefully you'll like it enough and want things. We'll design it around a way for you to that entices you to buy stuff, but you don't have to buy stuff.
So your argument is that when they're expecting that $60 out, if you like this, then that's not...
No, I don't care if they're doing that. What I'm saying is calling it free to play is a misnomer.
Sure.
Like, it's not really free to play if they're expecting to get money from their players.
But it's... the thing is it's...
You are playing.
You're playing for free as long as you want.
Sure. But I go back to that whole experience thing, like... Yes, you can play. Technically, you might be able to do...
So what about this? So everybody in the history of gaming has done pay to play. You have to pay for a cartridge, pay for a disc, whatever. This is play to pay. And you're...
Play to pay.
Because you're playing it with the intention of eventually getting to that thing. It would no longer be free. I mean, you're playing it for free. But I mean, with this, the kind of slashy that goes on, and you're like... This is the point where I give them my money because I've, sucked the life out of this game, and now I, whatever. So that you have that mindset built in that you're just like, well, now I've played, and now I shall pay.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Is Old Republic really? I think they do it wrong. I liked the game enough to where I decided to subscribe because I wanted the benefits, and the benefits were worth $15 a month for me. But they really did beat it into your head that you should subscribe, and that did piss me off a little bit. But I was like, you fuckers got me. Beat it. But like Neverwinter, to go back to that, doesn't beat it in your head. Shut up, Justin.
They don't beat
He said beat it again. No, it does. That doesn't beat it into your head. Like you actually will never really be prompted to spend money in Neverwinter. Like the way that they entice you to spend money is you will get these drops that are boxes. They're called rusted iron lock boxes.
Holy, rusted iron lock boxes, Batman.
What if you're a rogue? It's bullshit.
But I am a rogue, actually.
You can't even pick the locks of rusty old fucking
bullshit.
chests.
You're a
This game's
smuggler.
hella fake.
Can't even
This game is so fake.
Fake as hell.
Full of fake.
Yeah,
I love
you
your
should be able to
fake.
pick that
That's
shit.
gonna. I gotta make that.
Can't
thing,
play the
like,
game anymore.
The hella fake game of the week. or
Can't
something.
be that. Yeah.
Game so fake.
If you're a great sword wielder, you should be able to bust that shit open. Your sword weighs 86 pounds. You tell me you can't bust open a rusted iron lockbox?
Right.
Anyway,
I mean, destroying the contents
you
inside,
get-
sure, but I mean,
it's worth it.
it's just a.
You get useful things in those because I have seen a guy walking around in the same class as me and the same level as me, and his gear was unbelievably better than mine. Like, leaps and bounds. If we were to PvP, he would blink at me and I would disintegrate. And we're the same level. And so I was like,
So he's freezing.
holy shit. How do you freeze? Yeah, and I'm Krillin.
Fucking, you can destructo disc. You still cut his tail off.
That's
don't even-
true.
you don't even-
Destructo Disc,
you don't even
the
train with
savior
weights.
of planet.
You're not even a weight trainer.
Namek blew up. It wasn't safe.
Yeah,
Right,
no, it
no.
wasn't. No, but I looked up the gear that he had, and I was like, "How did he get that shit?" Because he's the same level as me. And I looked it up, and you get that from those boxes. So I mean, you will get crazy good shit from those boxes. But here's the thing, so I was kind of mad at that. I was like, "There's a big difference between the stuff that you have to get through money and the stuff that you get from drops."
That's the pay to win shit, though.
Right? Except that's what kind of made me mad. But then I realized that, wait a minute, I'm very successful in this game, though. Like, I am not struggling at all in progressing in this game. Like I said, I've put like 100 or so hours in this game, and I am almost max level. I'm level 52 in the game, and max is 60.
Kind of made you jelly when you saw somebody who's OP.
Right, but
Like-
at the same time, I realized I am having no trouble progressing. Like, I'm not hurting because I don't have this crazy awesome... And I don't do PvP,
It was the most
really.
idiomatic sentence I've ever said, I think.
What?
It came out so organic.
Which one?
Organically. So you were a little jelly that he was OP. That was just,
You're a little jelly that he's OP. That was great.
it came out so naturally, and then I looked back and I was like, what did I just say? Don't say that. What am I doing? But so the crux of this entire discussion is that we've landed nowhere. It's just it is what it is.
I think the is that
we've explored it, but it's
we can say there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it.
sure.
It can be beneficial, but it can also, like Irene was saying, be detrimental. I mean, you can literally spend tons and tons of money.
$250.
Right.
$250.
Because that's the only way you can
And then-
succeed. If they make it so that you can only succeed with spending money, that can be bullshit. Because then it's like they're not really giving you that full experience. If they give you the full experience, though,
And see,
and
what
give
is
you
the
benefits.
full experience?
Well, a game like Neverwinter, for instance, like I do not feel cheated whatsoever by not paying any money to play that game. I actually feel very happy that I was able to experience that game for such low, entry fee or whatever.
Sure.
Warframe's the same way. Warframe, I've never spent money on Warframe. And I haven't played as much as Aaron, but I have definitely played a decent amount of it. I've never spent any money, and I think that game's a great experience. Like I really enjoy being able to have those experiences without paying any money whatsoever. But I like having the option. Like if something's cool, and it's like, hey, spend $3, you get an awesome weapon. Here's $3, man, because I enjoy your game. And I think that it's almost like a tip. It's almost like, you know what I mean?
To ensure prompt servers.
Like I want you to continue making this game because I really enjoy it. I'll buy something. I'll look in your little market and see what I can buy.
I'll get this little flaming bat to follow me around.
I feel like the tip analogy, like you know how some people just expect that you give them a tip no matter how good their service is or not.
Right.
It's kind of how I feel about.
They put a tip jar out for you to see,
Yeah.
instead
I
of just like
don't
kind of
mind
having
that.
it there and then you put some in there.
I think tips are earned. I'm not of that opinion where it's like you are obligated to give somebody a tip. Because if somebody's a dick to me,
Yeah,
like
that's what
I'm
I'm
not
saying.
giving them a
Yeah.
tip. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That's
I
like if
am
their
not
game
gonna
is
argue.
bad and they're made
If
it for
your game is free and it's a piece of shit, I'm not tipping you. I'm not playing your game anymore.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of
you
here.
made a bad game.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Fucking-
a fair way to approach free to play is to give them money if you think they deserve money for whatever reason. I'm not saying free to play is bad or anything like that. I think there's a lot of things that make it hard to stay free to play, and I don't think I even touched on the whole penis envy thing too, where it's like
Penis envy?
the thing that you were just
Check out
talking
that guy's
about.
gear, man.
Oh,
We all
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I
No.
totally envy that guy's penis.
Well,
Didn't
his
even
armor
realize it.
penis.
It all
But-
comes back
You say
to
when you can pay to
the
win,
dick.
people also
Well,
have
like
that.
how you were just talking about, like, yeah, I know that, I'm having a
But-
great time in this game, but I don't have this dude's armor,
Hang
and
an
he's the
armor
same
dome.
level, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I mean.
Sure.
So, I mean, of course, you can still have the good experience, but it's like, you also have to define what the full experience is
Absolutely.
as well. So, I mean,
But that's case by case, really, I think.
Exactly,
Because
yeah,
for that guy,
sure.
his full experience was dropping $60 on fucking chest keys and opening it up to see if he gets good stuff. For me, it's not. For me, it's just playing it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the game engine. So, not to draw this out anymore, or any longer,
Yeah,
I guess, but
yeah.
compare that to, like, okay, so you're going to drop let's just say $200 on a
Never
collector's
spend that much on a game. Oh, okay.
edition of, say, Tekken Hybrid when it first comes out. You're just like, oh, it's going to have all this stuff in there. You are a Tekken fan.
That's a bad example.
Tekken fan. You go through and you're just like, I'm getting this because I'm a fan of the series or whatever like that. You get it. It's trash.
Have you seen that movie? Have you seen Tekken Blood Vengeance?
No.
I went to theaters to see that movie.
How cheated do you feel?
I feel exceptionally cheated, and I'm a huge Tekken fan. That
So
movie
you
was
wasted money.
Bullshit.
You wasted money. Either seeing that movie / buying that game or buying the collector's edition.
Or
as
buying
a,
the collector's edition and seeing the movie.
and as a fan, not knowing it was going to be complete and fucking utter garbage trash. And so
God,
now you're
that
$200 in the tank, $213 in the tank, including movie and
That shit was in
popcorn.
3D.
Actually, the popcorn. I'm not going to include the popcorn.
No,
'cause
that
you
shit
probably
was in
like that.
3D. It was like fucking like
probably
$15
liked
a
the
ticket.
You probably like the popcorn. It's $207 in the
yeah.
tank, but you didn't get to see ahead of time whether you liked that or not.
Right. I wanted to.
That's
Should've
the
been
free to
play.
That's the free to play model. And so if you pay the $100 or $200, whatever like that, that's on you. That's your fault because you tried the game and you're just like, yeah, I'll do this. And then if you quit the next week, that's also on you. But if you did that ahead of time, you were innocent, going like, I like Tekken, sure,
Yeah.
and you feel cheated by the company at that point.
yeah, and I think
That's a
that's one of the
completely different-
pros of free to play is that
I
you
would
get
just say
to
that's the
try it
biggest-
before you buy it. Kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Can you imagine you go to see a movie in the theaters, like you pay no money, and then like partway through the movie they just hand out that little dish like in like church. You throw a couple bucks in if you like the movie, and then
Or they
pass it
stop the
along.
movie and they're like, "So if you're having a good time, guys, like,
remember to tip your usher.
yeah, exactly."
You're usually like, goes, tickets, please.
No, they'll just be. There will just be, censor on all the nudity. It's like, hey,
Exactly.
You
You
wanna
can get
see
the
this-
non-censored
curse
glasses.
words.
Where's the tits, bro? Tits are $3.
Yeah,
You
some
get the
guy
tits
walks up.
goggles to put on so you can see the tits.
Yeah.
You begrudgingly pull out your wallet and maybe it's my $3.
Show me the nipples.
Could we make it an even 5? I've been a good usher.
Yeah.
I've been a good usher.
That's what they say.
That's how they sound.
That's what they say in my head, yeah.
Fucking ushers are all the same.
You ushers.
Goddamn ushers.
You all sound the same to me.
Bullshit.
Well, so, to wrap that up, we feel strongly
in
in many
directions.
ways
We do feel
about
strongly.
free-to-play
That's true.
model.
Strong penis envy.
I'm going to turn this over to you for a 3-minute, and I'm going to count us on 3 minutes.
Outro?
Who would win?
I don't think we need 3 minutes.
You don't think so?
Who wins in a fight? Toad, Mushroom Kingdom, circa, I don't know, Mario 64.
Mario
You gotta-
64 too?
Mario
You gotta
64.
You got to say
not
the
Mario
magic
2.
words, though. What's the mode of battle?
Oh,
Yeah.
fisticuffs.
What kind of fisticuffs?
We're doing bare knuckle.
straight fisticuffs.
Straight fisticuffs.
Straight up fisticuffs.
Toad, Mario 64. Not Mario 2. He's competent in that. He's supposed to be some kid with
How
a
about Mario
turban.
3D World?
Hey, well, yeah.
I didn't play Mario 3D
Neither
World.
did I.
Okay. You should.
Is
Anyway.
that another one you
guess
play
I
as
did.
Toad in that one?
Yeah. Mario
Alright.
3D World is the same setup as Mario 2.
Yeah.
Princess, Toad.
Oh, well
Is that
then
the
no.
cat one where you
Yes.
can- okay, I have
Because
to-
that's different. That's not
Let go.
that's not Toad. That's them
Toad
putting a
has-
Toad skin on somebody.
But that's 2 games Toad has been competent.
Yeah, but one of them he was a turban kid. They made Toad. That was a turban skin.
And one of them, he
Yeah.
was a Mario RPG. He was a whiner.
The Turban Kid.
So
Turban
Slippery
Kid. Ah.
Doki Doki.
Yeah,
Toad
Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah.
Toad Panic.
But this would be
Okay,
fisticuffs.
versus
Yes.
Slippy the Frog from Star Fox.
Slippy the Toad.
Slippy the Toad. I thought it was Slippy
Wait.
the Toad or something, but he looks like a frog.
Pose your question
Slippy.
because it's legitimate, and I think
Okay.
there's a counterpoint.
What was? No, I was just confirming. Slippy was the frog guy from Star Fox, and this is fisticuffs. So
They're
what-
fighting.
This is
So
bare
he's
knuckle
not
boxing.
narrowing, and
Picture
then
Because
1920s guys with high
He has a
waisted
mustache.
pants, mustache,
Yeah.
and they look.
Suspenders.
Toad's
Yes,
got the high
and
waisted
there's-
pants.
I'm going to argue that
And they're-
Slippy is so incompetent in battle that he's lost his gun at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
He's
that's,
lost his
that's
gun.
The premise, like that's the setup for it.
This is the
Yeah.
premise.
Who
They're
wins,
doing
though?
Bare knuckle boxing.
Who wins? That's for y'all to
That's
decide.
for us, yeah.
I have decided, but you say
wanna go-
Toad?
Toad.
I give it to Toad
Why,
as well.
why Toad?
Toad's got more of the. I would say he's got more of the spirit to fight and more competent in. I can't say the series, but more competent mentally. I would say Slippy is more of a sheep. He kind of follows the crew, and when nobody else is around, that kid panics. So if he's in a bare knuckle boxing fight with Toad, Toad would more likely throw his like toaded head at Slippy, like head first if his arms couldn't reach. Then Slippy would be able to land any kind of damage on Toad.
I give it to Toad also. But
Different reasons entirely.
Slippy's the pilot of an R-Wing, right? And R-Wings are badass.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do shit.
And he barely pilots
He,
the R.
yeah, that's what I mean.
You
Like,
fire like 2
He's
rounds.
mental,
You have to-
He's not physical.
you have to protect his ass. He's a liability.
I don't even know if he's mental, not physical. Like, he panics.
He is
What I'm
a-
saying is like he
Like,
well, I don't know anything about Star Fox.
Sure.
He navigates and he
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 looks at boss
pilots.
health bars.
He's a pilot.
he's a pilot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's all. That's mental work. That's not like really
Yeah.
very physical work.
So
That's
Toad
true.
has been proven to be an ample platform jumper.
Now you say platform, I jump off his head. He's a platform.
He's an ample platform.
he has short arms.
Yeah,
He has really short arms,
Extra
but
short arms.
but here's the thing:
he can jump.
in
Not as high as Mario.
fisticuffs, you can headbutt,
and then you can
and
punch.
Toad's got a head for headbutting.
Right. Whereas Slippy's got some
Slippy's
thin
got
legs for
nothing.
I
falling.
don't think that
Yes.
Slippy would punch. I think he would slap.
Or
Like
like
he would
wet
do some, like,
hand slap.
He would do that
Yeah.
crazy like
The girl,
slapping
like, yeah,
fight. Yeah,
Dog paddle.
The
He
dog
was-
paddle fight.
In not Mario, what was the Star Fox Adventures for GameCube, correct? You could
Star
play
Fox
as him.
adventures. You could play as Slippy in that game.
Could you?
I don't think so. You
Could
play
you
as
just stop
Hope
Star
not.
Fox?
You play as Fox and you play as the girl,
Is there-
Crystal.
Crystal.
Oh, is there any game that you could play as Slippy in other than the Star Fox games in multiplayer?
No.
No, he was not playable in anything.
I don't believe so.
So this is purely theoretical.
I think. Well, I think I would also give it to Toad. I
man,
had
round
the
robin
argument at first
Toad.
that Slippy, being an R-wing pilot, yes, you're a pilot and that's what you train for. But assuming they're kind of any organized military, he's going to have some sort of hand-to-hand training.
True.
And looking at that frog, he's going to be fucking awful at it anyway.
Right.
Well, because he can't fully whatever training he had for the pilot service. He's the first one to crash every mission.
I don't know why they don't have other people fly those things. Like,
He might
Yeah.
even be on autopilot and fails at that. I'm not sure, but I could see. Slippy is so incompetent. We gotta get you you haven't done any of the Star Foxies, but We have to like
Star Fox
show
is good
you
stuff.
the first level and then show
Yeah.
you Slippy, just an intro to Slippy.
Star Fox is good.
I could probably.
He's pretty bad.
Anyway, though
just-
that was an entertaining fight, not a very good one. Sorry.
Yeah, I kind
Toad
of.
versus Slippy. Toad single-handedly or unanimously takes it.
Yeah.
That was a definitive fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That ends the show. That's the
I guess
first.
so.
We're gonna call that episode 1 legit or episode 1 actual because
Yes.
the first one was a fake out. That was like the lost episode. We're gonna call that, even though it was the first one we
Maybe an
started out
actual
with.
thing from Battlestar Galactica.
Sure, probably it's subconscious, so it's got to be from Battlestar because I just finished that the end of last year.
Don't they use actual a lot? Maybe I'm.
That's a sci-fi thing. I'm
Yeah.
sure they use actual a lot. Like
I just
this is 31 actual. Like in any event, this was episode 1 actual.
episode 1 actual.
Episode 1 actual.
Thank you to actually everybody who listened.
Actual.
Everyone who listened, probably most of the people that we know starting out, and anybody who goes back and listens to this retroactively in 2015, 2020.
When we've really made it.
When we've truly made it, when we're sitting up next to Kevin Smith laughing with cigars.
We have all of 6 episodes in the can.
Right.
In 2015.
Got our $180 million a day.
In 2015, the Cubs are going to win the World Series against the Gators.
That's what you said.
That is what Chris is saying right now.
Nostra freaking Damus.
That's what happens
calling it.
according to the Sports Almanac. I'm just saying.
Right.
Yes.
If you want to mail us with a response to that, or to really anything you've heard from the lost episode or episode 1 actual,
The lost episode.
the lost episode is what we're calling it. You can mail into multitappodcast@gmail.com. If you feel so led, we will be on iTunes, so 5-star review this episode or
5-star
this podcast.
or don't rate it.
Or but rate it 5 stars.
If you feel it's worthy of 5-star.
Well,
if you
throw a couple
Just talk to
bucks.
us first. We'll throw a couple. Yeah, we'll give you a tip. Maybe
Look.
we'll inch you towards what. For we have the free to play
It's a
model.
multi-tip.
Yeah.
It's multi
Multi-tip. Lilu Dallas.
Lilo Dallas multi. Oh gosh, it makes it sound like she has several peenii.
We're on the Twitter.
Roll on Twitter, iTunes, like and comment because you can. This is a free to play podcast, and if you feel like it, you could give us wonderful reviews, and or mail us in and say the things you're on. We're on Twitter as @MultiTap Podcast.
Really, any kind of feedback is welcome.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I really don't want bad feedback.
Still,
though.
I'm
I'm just saying.
At that point, you know someone listened, and that means something.
Sure, no, of course. I just,
and we're
stings a little.
early on enough to whether it's bitter or sweet, we'll probably respond.
Maybe just
Oh,
throw
yeah.
a
Yeah,
couple-
we'll respond.
Yeah.
Criticism
Call out
will
your
lead
bitch ass, but
will lead to improvement.
Maybe just
It'll
the
make
word
us
nope.
shiny.
Yeah.
Nope.
Opening
Just keep it
lotus.
simple.
It will be thanks for being a dick, but appreciate the review.
Sorry.
Sure.
Nope out of 10.
If you like this at all, but you want video gaming news, Fistful of Potions, and I think there's a Twitch TV thing happening sometime soon too.
What are they
that might
playing?
open up. Well, we're gonna be playing all sorts of stuff.
We are.
We are.
Nice.
Well, not we. Maybe we could do one as well.
Oh, you're not-
if you
you're not
want to twitch it around, we'll do that.
We, as in Fistful of Potions, because you are also on Fistful of Potions.
I am also on Fistful of Potions,
Yes.
so if you want gaming news, listen to that. If you want a Twitch, we're trying to do something like that soon enough. I have written here for everybody who remembers this podcast was made possible by the Sears Roebuck Foundation and viewers like you. Would have to be listeners like you though, but that's a bit of nostalgia.
There you go.
But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody, and I don't know what to.
We gotta have an outro song.
Thank you.
We do have an outro song.
All right, it's playing right now.
It's playing right now.
This moment. You can hear it on the wind.
I mean, like,
I love everybody on Earth.
seconds ago,
Seconds ago, okay. So.
where we didn't start talking about it.
Thus concludes the MultiTap broadcast. Gramercy to every listener, and many welcome returns. If so led, the hosts encourage 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes. If you should like to contact the hosts of MultiTap, or give general public comment, they may be reached by way of Facebook at MultiTap Podcast, Twitter at MultiTap Podcast, or personal phone number, which they wisely refuse to give publicly. MultiTap is made possible in part by Fistful of Potions and viewers like you. We shall return, as scheduled, in MultiTap Theatre.